understand, he's getting this pass too. And I don't think there's anybody I could give you guys that is so tough you guys would run if you ever looked at him. If you ever saw some of these guys, you would not ask him questions you'd be afraid to. This guy did something that I don't think there's anybody that's more well-suited to be Speaker of the House, especially under a case like this. Remember, we had a majority of 1 for 6 months, and that was a very frightening thing because the Democrats have really hurt our country. And we are going to go into very much, remember what I said, the auto pay. This government was illegally run for 4 years. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Actually go back since we're here.
There you have it, President Donald Trump making some remarks ahead of his meeting with GOP leaders there on Capitol Hill as they continue to try to push forward this big, beautiful bill. It is a legislative package. Some of the things that include... Welcome back to Live Now from Bosses. We are continuing to follow this live.
We have a tremendous...
Good morning, good morning. Welcome back to the channel. We are gonna go back here and look at President Trump's press conference with Mike Johnson this morning. See what he had to say about this tax package and actually get through. The biggest thing I want to do is actually highlight from what everyone will say in the press over the next few weeks about, you know, one, what's in it for the millionaires and billionaires, the tax cuts they're getting, to be real, but also what's in it for the urban community, the ones where, not to say they're confused or whatever, but they're just not as involved as others. And I'll be real. Let me start the stream how I intended. Since we're on YouTube this morning. Good morning. Hope everybody's having a good week so far. I'm okay. I know personally, professionally, for what it is, I've had a lot of good encouraging phone calls. I know my family contingent is mad at your boy for sharing my opinions. I respect that. But I'm not even going to focus on that. We got to get back to it because there's a world going on out there politically that people just need to be in tune to. Whether you are an HBCU alum, grad, a person who just feels impacted by this new administration and you feel that it's going to just end or hurt you more than anything, I think the biggest thing is at least understanding what the game plan is. Any professional, whether you're NBA, NFL, or lawyer, doctor, accountant, you need what you need. And I actually need to work on my lighting. Let me fix my lighting first. I'm on here with the bed lighting. I got my top light going. Once I get my whole setup together, I think it'll be good. There we go. I just realized, you know, about that earlier. But anyway, appreciate y'all tapping to the stream. Everyone who's here this morning, I hope y'all again having a good week. And hopefully you can't hear my chair creaking that much. I've seen some on TikTok, on the TikTok shop, like some gaming chairs. I may get a gaming chair. And professionally, I hope y'all don't get upset with me when I'm talking politics with a gaming chair in the back. But, you know, it is what it is. It's this professional chair. It works, but it's just not. It's creaking too much. It's too rickety raggedy, right? And y'all see my son is bored in the back. So when he comes back from school, he'll get his lettering on and whatever he wants to draw in the office. But back to it. People, like, I've stopped having more anxiety over the comments and be like, damn, you know, I got to clap back at everybody who disagrees with me, right? I'm past that. And I think it's more trauma, right? I'll be real. And I was thinking about this before I got on the stream this morning. We're going to get into the Trump stuff. But I realized it was like trauma. My mom cut my hair as a child, right? And long story short, she wasn't a professional barber. Love my mom, right? So never a knock on the good old mother. But she used to cut my hair and 6:30 in the morning, I'm getting on the bus to go to school. And the first thing I hear is, Soup Bowl? And people cracking jokes all day, like a 30, 45. It was going like, I wasn't like the middle stop or the last stop. I was early in the stops, right? So I'm getting cracked on waves. Like, you get the first wave of people on the bus, then the people coming on later, hey, Super Bowl, what's up, Super Bowl, right? So all that. getting to the point, it's like, oh, your name's Philip. You got big lips. That's why your mama know you had big lips. That's why she named you Philip, right? Or Lip. And the people across the board who like made these cracks on my demeanor, my comments, whatever, over life, right? And I've never been a person to be like, all right, cool. I'm just let you make a comment. I'm not going to clap back, right? And I think the trauma of the haircuts and the trauma of the jokes from middle school and high school and elementary school all the way through really set a point of saying, bro, if you ever say anything, I'm going to just clap back at you, all right? But I've realized in the world of politics, in the world that we live in, I just can't address every comment. And even though I upset the FAMU faithful, I caught myself in that moment like, oh, clapback season, let's go. I can't do that with everybody. So if I offended you, I apologize. I'm still dealing with the trauma, my childhood trauma of that situation. So please excuse it for what it is. But more than anything, good morning. Good morning. So to the point, I'm not clapping back. And I'm also to a point of saying, I'm going to try to work on my live freestyle versions of this live stream, of course, to not cuss as much and use the N-word as much, not use the K-N-E-E grow word on the live stream as much. I do understand that it could make some people feel that the message isn't as valid and is not as there. Some people I trust and respect have told me that, you know what, yeah, it's real. You may not like the approach. It's this, is that. It's like, it's too much N-word. It's too much this. People have told me, hey, man, when you need to clean it up so you can run and be in real politics. I mean, I am in real politics. I just don't need my name on the board. That's really what lobbyists are, right? We, again, are sports agents in the process. A lot of y'all may know Rich Paul, but Rich Paul isn't the only lobbyist. Or sorry, sports agent. So that's the part politically. I do what I do, but I think the discounted opinion was really why that childhood trauma kind of made me want to clap back, to be real over here, right? Because it was like, this is a realistic perspective. There are 22, 23 million people who live in Florida. There are roughly less than 2,000 lobbyists, state lobbyists, who do this professionally. There are about 60 of us who are black who do this, right? Some professionally contracted, some work internal at different places. Your bankers, your healthcare, your dental places, your county commissions, your cities, your everywhere, right? And not just the homies, I mean like everywhere. But there are not a lot of people who are out here solo. And the thing is, when you think about those numbers, there are a small percentage of African-American, Caribbean-American people of color who actually know this process. So when I'm sharing my opinion, sometimes I'm not sharing it as, oh, he's a gatekeeper, he's coming from a highfalutin place. I'm sharing it from somebody who's like, you know what? I can at least have the freedom to say this, and it may cost me something. But guess what? Y'all have helped build this page to a point of this whole page and live stream being monetized. So I want to thank you for helping build this community, because really it's been a whirlwind 3 weeks. We've almost hit 1,000 subscribers in 3 weeks. I'm going to make a video and tell you how we've been able to grow this way. But the biggest thing is the confusion in the narrative that will be coming down politically, right? I don't want people to be blindsided by what's coming down. I would rather say, you know what, and this is my perspective, right? Democrats don't have control. Republicans have control, but they have infighting, not just in Florida, but throughout the country. And now they have a tax package coming through Congress that people are going to put spin and narrative on what Trump is doing. But my biggest thing is, if and when it happens and it passes, how can you be prepared for your community overall? Whether it's affordable housing, opportunity zones. My grandfather's 96 years old. So if what they're doing with Medicare or Medicaid and all these different cuts, it makes impact. So for me, it's more of a fact of when you're in your barbershops, when you're in these different conversations in the hood and in the urban culture, Republican or Democrat, I don't care, right? At least having a solid foundation of understanding of what they're doing instead of a narrative. Because understanding that is all right, cool. You can build your case. I can have my opinion. You can have yours, but we at least are educated to a point to tell someone else what's really happening. So by the time you hear what gets in the telephone ear of like, hey, it's this, is that, it's like, no, it's actually this. And not just because you've heard it, you've actually read it for yourself and you see it. And you're like, you know what? I can understand the impact of, like, I know what's in the bill. $100 billion for opportunity zones, which would help urban and rural communities. $10 billion over 10 years. Cool. But some of these communities that they want to invest in now, these historic communities, again, I've said before, are gentrified communities. So how do we ensure out of all these dollars that'll be trickling down to potentially in Republican and Democratic states, how can we make sure that we're part of the conversation, or we at least know so we can stop or at least benefit, find a way to benefit? And I think that's a part of understanding not only what the real affordable housing metrics are. So when people say it, but what does it really mean? Right? Is it when they say mixed use, it's like, okay, they build a facility, you have a Publix at the bottom. And I know they have this in Atlanta, right? You have a Publix at the bottom and you have houses up top, right? Maybe 500 units. Maybe 82 of those units that are really typically, let me go back. Those 500 units, maybe they're $3,000 a month. Maybe 50 to 80 of those units will be only 800. So somebody can afford to live there instead of, and all that put together, and the investment credits of people who are building affordable housing, who are investing in it, how they're looking at it as, okay, this is cool. I'm looking at this as a $250,000 write-off for the next 10 to 15 years because they're investing in it. So if they're investing in these affordable housing projects, to me, it's like almost a history of, okay, cool. Who are the investors in the projects, right? Because if this was affordable housing and how they did it, it's the matriculation of money in the political game. But all put together, let me get into the Trump stuff, because Trump is, I missed the live piece. So if you've seen it, cool, tap in with me to see my thoughts on it. But let's tap in to see what Big Trump had to say this morning. Let's go, man. Hold on, let me get to the right screen.
Of holdouts. We have a tremendously unified party. I don't think we've ever had a party like this. There are some people that want a couple of things that maybe I don't like or that they're not going to get. But I think we're going to have tremendous, not luck, we have tremendous talent. This man has done an incredible job as Speaker. We had a majority of one. We were one heart attack away from losing the House, okay? Now we have 7. That's a big, because we won some elections, as you probably noticed, and we're going to win a lot of elections. We have an economy that's roaring. We took out 5.1 billion. If you take a look, 5.1 trillion with a T, not a B. 5.1 trillion out of the Middle East. They're investing more than that. It's going to be ultimately more than that. What, 180 wide-body Boeing aircraft. They're spending money at levels that nobody's ever seen. Usually a president goes for a trip and he loses money. In other words, he gives money. We went for a trip and we took out $5.1 trillion. Nobody has ever seen anything like it, and that's just the beginning. So I think we're a very unified party. The Senate is doing great. John Thune is doing fantastically. He's a great guy, and we're going to have a bill, the one big beautiful bill. I think it's the biggest bill ever passed, and we got to get it done. Tremendous tax cuts for people, tremendous incentives, tremendous regulation cuts, all these regulations that are so horrible. And now you find out what happened, because Biden, look, it's a very sad thing what happened, but we're going to start looking into this whole thing with who signed this legislation. Who signed legislation opening our border? I don't think he knew. I said there's nobody that could want an open border. Nobody. And now I find out that it wasn't him. He auto-penned it. Who was operating the auto-pen? This is a very serious thing. We had a president that didn't sign anything. He auto-penned almost everything. He opened the borders of the United States of America. And I kept saying, who would do such a thing? Allowing criminals to pour in from all over the world, not just South America, all over the world. They came in from Africa. They came in from Asia.
Stop that. We just brought some immigrants from Africa over, right? Like I told people that the other day. They bringing African immigrants over. So how are we gonna dispel the fact of the 50 plus countries that are in the continent of Africa? We can't attack the Africans that they let over and then still fly Africans over as if, I get it. They're dealing with a different issue in South Africa. White Africans, Afrikaans. But let's be real about the narrative. That's our whole point.
Yeah, they came from the
You're letting Africans in too, Trump. That's all I'm saying.
Congo. the prisons in the Congo in Africa, these are rough people. The prisons from the Congo are empty. You know where they are? They're in this country. Who would sign this? Nobody would sign it. No.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
You don't sign it.
I don't believe that. They've been going through a war in Congo for a minute. I do not believe that for what it is. But it's all a game, because you're going to pick Congo as if Congo is the only country in Africa. Ghana, Egypt, Morocco. Like, what are we talking about? So that's the part where it's kind of that piece of, I'm going to paint what you think Africa is, but at the same time, separate the South Africans that you're still flying in. Oh, yeah, they're not coming from prisons. They know they're being disenfranchised, but you're still going to come over here, give them American tax dollars and try to put them ahead. And the same thing maybe Biden was trying to do, but you want to link them as criminals. That's the shit sorry. They told me to stop cussing. I apologize. That's the stuff I don't like, right? Because it's that dog whistle mentality that the Republicans do put out. It's like you just contradicting really yourself when you really think about it. Like, you flying Africans in, but you assuming that their prisons are empty. I don't believe that. I don't believe that for 1 second.
Radical left lunatics that were running our country, and the Auto Pen signed it. And they didn't want him, and they were disappointed in getting him because they wanted Bernie Sanders. And then after about 2 weeks, they said, wait a minute, this is a gift. He'll do anything. We're going to use the Auto Pen. And they used the Auto Pen and everything. He didn't approve this stuff because when Joe Biden was with it, he would never have approved it. You take a look. He would have never approved open borders. Go ahead, another one.
Are Republicans still grandstanding in your view?
Oh, yeah, sure. You have a couple that will grandstand, but I think even the grandstanders should. Look, the alternative is a 68% tax increase. And you can blame the Democrats for that and one or two grandstanders. We only have one or two, but we have tremendous support. But you'll have a 68% tax increase, or you'll get a massive tax decrease. You'll get a tax cut, the likes of which we've never had before. This is bigger than any Ronald Reagan tax cut. It's even bigger than the tax cut that I gave, because as you know, that's being extended and increased. So this is the biggest tax cut in the history of our country. Or you'll get a 68% tax increase. And if that happens, I mean, what Republican could vote for that to happen? Because there wouldn't be a Republican much longer. They would be knocked out so fast. But we're going up to details. This is I'm a cheerleader for this party, and I'm a cheerleader for the country. Much more importantly for the country. But I'm a cheerleader for the party, and we're going to go up, and I think we're going to have a very good discussion. There are one or 2 points that some people feel strongly about, but maybe not so soon.
On one of those points, do you consider some of the proposals on the table, like co-pay provider tax, as a benefit cut? How are you viewing
No, we are looking at one thing. We're not doing any cutting of anything meaningful. The only thing we're cutting is waste, fraud, and abuse. With Medicaid, waste, fraud, and abuse. There's tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse. There's incompetent things put in. We have illegal aliens that are multiple killers with multiple murder records getting Medicaid. I don't think anybody minds if we cut that. The Democrats, on the other hand, are going to destroy it because they're going to leave these people on. We're cutting 3 things: waste, fraud, and abuse. We're not changing Medicaid, and we're not changing Medicare, and we're not changing Social Security. And if I wanted to do those things, I would have done it during my 4 years that we were.
Mr. President, what's your message to your fellow New Yorker Republicans who are hung up on the SALT issue?
Well, SALT is a very interesting thing because the governors of New York and Illinois, you know, the big JB who's going nowhere. Probably right now he could be the worst governor in the country. But Illinois and Gavin Newsom, those are the people that want this.
That's the best part of Trump, I'll say sometimes, is Biden didn't have the quick jabs. I mean, in his younger days when he ran against, Obama in 08, right? He was quick, but that's one thing I do miss about Trump is the quick jabs. Like, I'm a creative nickname. Like, that's the pettiness I'm talking about. That's the pettiness I'm used to having. I think that's not why, I don't have an affinity to Trump to say, hey, I'm a super Trumper, I'm a supporter. He is what it is. He was cool in rap lyrics and on The Apprentice. until he started attacking Obama, to be real, right? But get that, you know, I started getting involved with politics around the Obama time, so I could see that. But Trump is Trump. At the same time, I did miss the comedic jabs he likes to take at other people, especially his opponents. So it'll be funny to see, because, you know, it's not Rosie anymore, and it's not Pocahontas. It's not anybody else. So sorry, Senator Elizabeth Warren, but all that is really comedy, right? At the end of the day, like, we need some kind of comedic candidate on the Democratic side. Don't just be passionate, be funny, be petty. Make them jump in your comments and make them question, like, damn, why am I this way? That's what we need on the Democratic side.
And they're Democrat states. They're all Democrat states. You know, Ronald Reagan tried very hard to get this passed. Was unable to do it the way we have it, where basically everybody's treated equally. He tried it so hard, and he never got it done. He was always disappointed. He never got it done. We got it done. Now people want to change it. So we're going to be talking about that. But the biggest beneficiary, if we do that, are governors from New York, Illinois, and California. And those governors are the ones that blew it because they weren't able to get it. So I think we're going to be explaining that these are all very blue states that I don't really believe. If we had honest elections, I don't actually believe. I think I would have won California. I would have won New York. I even think I would have won Illinois. I think we have to, you know, we're going to start this after. I was talking to Mike, and again, I'm his biggest fan. I love this guy. He's the only guy who could have walked in with a one. Think of it. You can't be a guy like me and have a one majority. You have to be a guy like him, a nice person. He's very religious. He prays. He's a man of God. And so am I, but he's really to a new level, I will tell you. He is a great guy. They love him in Louisiana, and they love him that's the only kind of guy. Somebody said, oh, well, we want somebody to, if you put a certain personality in there, you would have never, look at what he got passed, what he's gotten passed. And just so you understand, he's getting this passed too. And I don't think there's anybody I could give you guys that is so tough you guys would run if you ever looked at him. If you ever saw some of these guys, you would not ask him questions you'd be afraid to. This guy did something that I don't think there's anybody.
Anybody notice it? Is that a purple tie? Or is that like red? Is it purple or red, chat? Because it looks purple, doesn't it? Trump could be trying to, send another message. The tie colors send a message these days. Well, historically, they always do.
More well-suited to be Speaker of the House, especially under a case like this. Remember, we had a majority of 1 for 6 months, and that was a very frightening thing because the Democrats have really hurt our country. And we are going to go into very much, remember what I said, the auto pen. This government was illegally run for 4 years. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
I don't know how we get to that. Let's get a quick update on the Diddy trial, y'all. Let me move this stream over. Give me 1 second, chat. What are y'all thoughts on this tax bill? I'm gonna pull up the tax bill and go through some of the highlights that I think are important because everybody else will be talking about, the spin, right? But
and again, just in case you weren't there at the beginning of our stream,
hold on, get an update from Diddy trial.
On live since just about 9 o'clock this morning, setting the scene, Pearl Street, Lower Manhattan. You didn't miss anything if you're just tuning in. Court has been delayed a little bit because some of the jurors have been delayed because of train problems. Shout out to the transit system out there. Hopefully they get things worked out. Most of us get to and where we're going. They take care of us over at the MTA most of the time. But today it looks like there were some train troubles. Those jurors have not arrived yet, so they have delayed it.
It looks like his tongue. Y'all wild, bro.
Will testify. It was Don Rashard, who's the singer, who testified, really backing up Cassie's claims of a pattern of abuse, witness intimidation, and career control, going to the heart of some of the prosecutor's charges of racketeering, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage. So these aren't just people who are brought up there to tell a story because it's going to make a headline. They're up there to tell a story because it is going to lay out the narrative for the charges here. And whether or not it's going to make a difference to the jury, we will all find out when we find out. two other key witnesses who we expect today. Regina, that's her name, right? Regina Ventura. Yeah, Regina Ventura, Cassie's mother. Just going to quote from theindependent.com. They're saying that Regina Ventura's testimony will likely focus on an event that took place in December of 2011 when her daughter Cassie returned to Connecticut and detailed Combs's alleged threats and physical abuse. Cited in the Independent, first reported on in the Washington Post. So you heard it here now, and later on you're probably going to read about more of the details. Cassie Ventura's mother expected to testify today.
Oh, wow.
About a specific incident that happened in December of 2011. So if you're one of the couple thousand people who are listening to our YouTube channel right now here with Fox 5, there's a little piece of information that you'll have. The elder Ventura may also be asked about a $20,000 sum that prosecutors say Combs demanded after Cassie began a relationship with rapper Kid Cudi. There's a whole part of this testimony previously where Cassie had talked about some of the jealousy that Combs presented after she was trying to date some other people. This particular incident is one that may get talked about. So maybe a $20,000 that Combs wanted Cassie to give or pay back or give back to him for whatever reason, because he thought that she was having a relationship with Diddy. With Kid Cudi. Washington Post goes on to say that the defense isn't denying the hip hop mogul demanded the $20,000, but Combs's attorneys have argued that the exchange is not relevant to the overall charges. And look, the mom did wire the money to Combs before it was returned shortly afterward. The prosecution argues that the exchange indicates coercion and control that Combs exercised over Cassie during their relationship. So not just something that happens out of the blue, but something that does go to the heart of the charges that are there.
You look like lower tier God. Is that somebody you're just trying to get ranked, bro?
Some of the things that we're watching. So, yeah, that's,
like low
that's
tier
what's
God.
going on today. I hope you got a little bit out of that.
I need to change my hoodie for this stream, for real.
I mean, that you kind of see.
I had this on for like, what, 2-3 streams
Yeah.
straight.
It is a good talking point. You know, you think about it.
It is what it is. I came straight from daycare drop off, man. I wasn't worried about y'all opinions. Content's content. Like, damn, he went that again. You right.
They don't have video.
I'm straight. I took a bath, though, bitch.
So you can tell when you can, even if you're not in the courtroom, you can kind of see where the Supreme Court justices are thinking. Obviously, they have some big important cases in front of them right now, specifically when it comes to immigration issues. And so you can hear the Supreme Court justices, that's the word I'm searching for, you can hear kind of where they're leaning when it comes to what's happening in federal court.
It's YouTube creator? I got you. I'm
that's in there for better.
I'm gonna check them out.
You know, one thing that's interesting in this case as well.
Let me jot that down, bro. I'm gonna see. Hold on.
And I know it takes away from my
I
business.
got another
but shout out to
page
all the
open. Let me see.
streamers,
Low tier God.
out there who are going live on their own Instagram pages and things along those lines. Stay tuned to ours because
Okay, bro. I need to clean it up, but I can see it. I can see
they're
it.
providing these details as well.
Hold on.
So this is a case that really is not just significant because of who
Oh,
it is
that's
and what it
funny.
is, but also in the way that it's being covered now.
Hold on. Y'all see
because
this?
You do have these streamers who
Bro, say I look
in
like
there
low
and
tier
just
God, bro. Yeah, I
giving
gotta
this
get the
information as it happens.
I ain't mad at
But they
that,
can't do
bro.
it from the courtroom, and
Let
you
me
can't see those pictures
let me
from the
clean this
courtroom.
up. Okay,
case is
I may have to
open
hit
to
the
the
gym on the ass.
theoretically.
Actually, it look like my dog.
So, you know, if you wanted to get there,
It look like
you
my
ain't getting
dog
into that.
non-tactical
I'm sorry,
for real, but I'm
If you
not.
wanted to go tomorrow,
Hey, we out here, man. We streaming. Let me
get
get
in line
right
today,
to the other page. Hey, that's
you
not
may
bad,
be
bro.
able to, sneak
Thought bro
yourself
was trying to
in there.
rank.
Maybe you can get into that spillover room. If on a Wednesday in the middle
Appreciate
of May,
y'all tapping in
you
this
don't have
morning,
anything
man.
else to do, certainly that's a possibility. So that's one of the
Trying to pull up some
parts
other
that
stuff
I've
while
always
we
looked
getting this
at. I mean,
Diddy
I've
trial
always wished
update.
that
So
they
just bear with you, boy.
cameras in those federal courts, because some of those cases aren't just interesting, but they kind of go at the heart of a lot of what we talk about. So here we go, 9:38, 9:40. It is Wednesday morning. We are live at the Diddy trial, delayed a little bit this morning. Let me just check to see if there's an update. Live, let's see. What are we looking at here? Yep. All right, so they did actually start. So it looks like some of the jurors have all arrived. Let's get into court.
All right, so that's going to be later today. It's going to be something popping off there. I want to switch. I got to get an update because I'm going to get into the tax plan. Of course, I have time today. I don't have a lobbying meeting until 2 o'clock, but we're going to grab some lunch, and I'm going to try to do one of my longest streams today. So if it's your first time here, let me make it full screen while I switch this over. Appreciate y'all tapping in with your bro. I'm trying to get my damn, that ain't it. Full face. There we go. If it's your first time here, I appreciate you tapping in. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. It is your boy, the Hip Hop Lobbyist. And we have quietly grown this channel from like 300 subs 2-3 weeks ago to like over 1,300 today. And I am just ecstatic about it. So I appreciate y'all tapping in with your boy this morning. It is what it is. I'm not going to beg for a subscription, but if you enjoy the content so far, if you're enjoying at least hearing my commentary while we watch the update on the Diddy trial, the tax plan from Trump, and things that are happening across the world, I appreciate that. I don't have a set schedule for this, so I'm just going to try to go with what works. And if you enjoy it, stick with your boy. I know we're on a vertical stream, so you most likely watch on your phone now. I'm going to open up my Twitch and YouTube canvas in a bit, but let me just at least finish setting this up. But I'm going to switch over to get an update from the Diddy trial from yesterday because I don't really know where we're at, to be real, right? And I think the bigger part of everything is really understanding the background. So I missed yesterday. I've seen that they've released, and I'll wait for my homies to get on later the stream. They've released the pictures of these other escorts. You got to get back. All I have is the pictures of escorts on social media. You glance Instagram, like, what's this? Let me at least take some time to understand how we even got here before we gain an opinion. And maybe on the stream later tonight, I have to do a set schedule so people at least know what time I'm going live. And then at least, we can tap in with the fellas and talk about it. But more than anything, appreciate y'all tapping in. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you like and subscribe. But let's switch over to Diddy. Let me get my scenes right. Tariff is a tax. I believe that. Oh, nope, that ain't it. There we go. All right, let's tap this in.
We're back here with Elizabeth Milner, who is our in-court reporter for the Sean Diddy Combs criminal trial. Elizabeth, so good to see you. So you were in court today, week 2, continuation of Dawn Rashard's testimony. She left the stand, Kerry Morgan on the stand. Before we get to the substance of what they had to say, what is the vibe like in court today? How does Sean Combs appear? Who's there? Paint the picture for us, because unfortunately, as we know, there are no cameras. There are no audio recordings allowed in that courtroom. What did you see and what did you hear?
Yeah, well, the tone as far as this morning goes, a lot of people are kind of anticipating what would the rest of Dawn Rashard's testimony look like, and especially more so, how would the cross-examination and how would Diddy's defense attorneys kind of be able to pull apart essentially her credibility. As far as just everyone inside the courtroom today, it doesn't look like there was that big kind of present for the defendant side that we've seen last week, especially when we came to day 1 and even day 2 of testimony.
Hold on. Oh, you got to get a whole hand in there. Hold on. I don't know about the people doing the drawings in the court, man.
Any of Diddy's children inside that courtroom, which I think is a little big and a little not big at the same time. We saw images over this weekend that the twins were in during prom season. They were in their prom dresses and that sort. Not 100% sure where the sons are in this kind of picture, as far as are they on the West Coast again, because the twins are about to graduate. So it's unclear why the family presence wasn't so big as it has been for day 1 and day 2. As far as Diddy himself, though, it seems like that didn't necessarily faze him that much. I assume that he, looks forward to seeing his family inside that courtroom, but maybe understanding that they had other obligations. He didn't seem too bothered by that or anything like that. So as far as him being inside that courtroom, it was still the same old Diddy that we've seen, kind of in the same old outfit that we've seen him in as well, too. He was wearing a tan sweater. He had a white undershirt. He had khakis on. When he comes into the courtroom, he hugs his attorneys. He chats with them, all those types of things. And so a lot of people were just anticipating what would it look like once Dawn Rashard Rashard got back on the stand. And let me tell you something, Jesse, when I saw her on the stand today, and even on Friday as well, too, she appeared like she just didn't want to be there. You could tell that she was very uncomfortable, especially talking about her recollection of her time that she had worked with Diddy, her time after working with Diddy, especially during the cross-examination part. I thought that maybe she would get a little emotional because she just appeared maybe a little nervous, maybe a little intimidated, not necessarily sure, but she was very soft.
My bad, y'all. I still ain't paid for YouTube yet.
Spoken while she was on that stand today answering some of the questions. A lot of those questions obviously had to do with the egg frying incident. It had to do with why Don Rashard even continued working with Diddy even afterwards, or even wanting to work with Diddy afterwards. And so a lot of the anticipation.
I mean, it's a clear fact of he's one of the biggest entertainment moguls in the world. And if you're not working with him, I mean, he could end your career, and this is what they know you for. So he basically has you as a damn yo-yo. Like, I need you down here, stay down there. No, I need you, man. And if you, come on now, people knew what they were messing with Diddy. Everybody knew. It was like the mafia, man.
Or just the overall tone inside that courtroom, especially when it came to that cross-examination. It was kind of, it was a little rough to watch. It was a little like a lot of people, especially us in the gallery, in the press, were just kind of like, wow, this is a little brutal. And they kind of hit the points that they wanted to hit while them being defense attorneys. And so I think that the prosecution really kind of had to tighten everything up as far as, trying to get maybe back in the jury's good graces after kind of seeing that cross-examination go and all those holes that were poked into her testimony. And so that was just the overall essence and tone of today's
bruh, y'all need to control the police in y'all background, bruh.
To go by, because I know it's so loud. So, this Elizabeth, how is the jury responding to Don Rashard's testimony, and what were some of the highlights? I mentioned it briefly before you came on air, kind of summarized some of the points, but what were some of the points that came out today from her testimony, both on direct and cross-examination, and how was the jury responding to her testimony? Because let's not forget, she is a corroborating witness for Cassandra Ventura Fine. She helped to articulate some of the finer elements of racketeering. What were some of the highlights from her testimony, both on direct and cross, and how was the jury responding?
Well, absolutely. As far as being under direct, it was really just kind of ironing out the details as far as what happened with this whole egg skillet incident, that being the incident that happened in 2009, according to Don Rashard, where essentially Cassie was cooking Diddy breakfast. Diddy comes downstairs, gets upset about either the way that the breakfast was made or why it wasn't being made fast enough, and essentially just an assault happened in the aftermath of that, something that Don Rashard has even pointed out in her civil lawsuit, something that definitely the defense was definitely talking about today. So a lot of it had to do just with under direct examination still while they were finishing that up, just what was Cassie's demeanor when this was going on. They were also asked, or they being Don Rashard was also asked, Cassie had a pretty quiet demeanor, and that Diddy wasn't necessarily having that when it comes to what kind of promoted this type of violence or what prompted this type of violence, as far as why Diddy would essentially physically assault her. And Don would say Cassie would just be speaking up for herself, or it would be something random that happened. Then there were moments where they had talked about who witnessed these physical assaults, and Don Rashard pointed out names such as Harve Pierre, who used to be the president of Bad Boy, Mia, who we expect to be testifying as well too. She had worked for Diddy. Capricorn Clark had worked for Diddy as well too, and then she named other names like D-Rock and Bonds, who both worked security for Diddy. So I can kind of see where the prosecution was kind of painting that or amping that up as far as how the staff is involved in all of that sort. As far as 2010, just the following year, she says she witnessed another incident where they were all at a festival together up in Central Park. They were about to bring out Diddy's Dirty Money group, and that right before this had happened, or actually, excuse me, I am looking at the wrong incident. Sorry about that. But there was another incident in 2010 where they were having a dinner with a bunch of celebrities, and that Cassie and Diddy were kind of arguing a little bit secretly there, and Diddy punched her in the stomach, according to Don Rashard. There, she said that at that dinner, they had people like Harp Pierre, again, former president of Bad Boy, D-Rock Security, Kalina Harper, who used to work with Diddy's Dirty Money, Mia, who also worked with Diddy, and Bonds were all there during this dinner. And so then we kind of saw an exhibit photo of what Harp Pierre looked like. And so then there was another talk, and this is kind of where I bring up the Central Park. And
I guess that's kind of just me and my homies. None of my homies that I know of or whatever, right? I ain't rolling with you if you put your hands on a woman, bruh. I know all my homies live by that, right? 80s babies. I just don't see how I could get in a situation professionally where I see that and I condone that at the same time too, you feel me? There's access to power, but there's access to being a good damn person, having a heart. Like, actually, like, you know what? This is an abuser. And I'm not going to act like I ain't do the Harlem Shake. Like, I wasn't watching Making the Band and seeing, you know, hey, maybe I would, if I could sing, you know, I would maybe want to try out, right? So it's not as if there wasn't an aura. I've even went to a Revolt music conference, so I can go be transparent there. There's not a point of saying, okay, cool. There's not an aura to at least get close to get some guidance. Like, hey, if you made it, you know, how can it benefit me? But when you find out somebody, I'll be real, and find out somebody's snorting coke, whatever, all right, bro, you know, do you. But slapping women, beating women, sexually assaulting, and all the rest of this stuff is crazy. However, my homie said something the other day when we were doing an update. We'll have them on the stream tonight. But they all have regular jobs, so, you know, they can't be streamed during the day. But it's a part of saying some of this, when they laid out the Cassie Ventura piece, the escorts peeing in her mouth, and him sitting back watching her get smashed by other men, crazy, wild thoughts, right? Wild thoughts. It's just, a lot of that didn't sound like Rico. It just sounded like a lover's quarrel, like two freaks getting off. And now they're starting to release pictures and all this other stuff in the testimonies. It's kind of crazy, but I personally just haven't had time to catch up. So between emails, work, doing the stream, I just want to at least catch up and understand how we got here. So the Don Richards, of course, testimony, I didn't really know all this was happening, but it's only about 14 minutes left in this, but 20 minutes overall. We'll get a recap of this, try to get up to date. So by the time we get to Cassie Ventura's testimony tonight with the homies, we'll be more informed. Still got to get to that Trump tax bill and see. Actually, they have I was looking at it, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem is testifying before the Senate Homeland Security Committee. We may tap in there for a bit if there's any interest in anything she's saying, but I think it is important. Department of Homeland Security, they're saying going out the country and need their real ID to get back or their passport. So there's a lot of women, they say, being detained. And I haven't read anything on that. I just saw it on a couple tweets. So you can't take it as valid, but that's what the people,
incident where there was an incident where Diddy had allegedly physically assaulted Cassie while they were getting ready for this festival, and that Cassie came into the bathroom and that Kalina and Don kind of confided in her, or at least kind of helped her during this moment. They all kind of put on sunglasses and then just kind of carried on like usual. Meanwhile, Cassie's kind of nursing some injuries just behind the scenes. Now, when it came to the cross-examination, and there was just a lot of testimony going on today, so I'm trying to get you guys all my notes going on and everything.
I don't want to be disrespectful. I can't comprehend or translate the Hebrew yet, right? I believe that's Hebrew. If somebody could translate that for me and drop it in the chat, because I at least want to understand, because every time I drop it in the chat, it says the same thing, and I don't want to say what it says, because it's not nothing crazy. It's just like a bunch of names. It doesn't give me anything. So, like Ali, Abdul, whatever, right? I know that's not what it says, but somebody help people out, man.
like that. But once it came to the cross-examination, that was done by Nicole Westmoreland, and this was the first time we've kind of really seen her in action when it comes to this specific trial. And so first thing that Nicole Westmoreland's going to be asking her is just about her lawsuit, the lawsuit that she had filed just a few months ago against Diddy. And so she was asked about the demand letter that was, I guess, set up by her attorneys. She was asked about how many times she spoke with federal prosecutors, and she said she couldn't necessarily recall the amount of times that she had done it, but the defense kind of summed it up that she at least spoke with federal prosecutors 8 different times. They brought back the egg skillet incident where on Friday the defense was pointing out, you said that Cassie was cooling the eggs and then Diddy comes downstairs and then he hits Cassie, or did he hit her, or did you see him hit her, did you see that he had threw something at her, was he like, it was really just kind of that quick and that much questioning kind of being thrown at her essentially. And then they brought up how it kind of compared to what she had said in her lawsuit just about the whole egg incident, and said that she didn't see the pan hit Cassie in the lawsuit. And then when she was asked essentially why she brought the lawsuit about, the defense was really kind of pointing at her. And I think this is something that, you know, anybody who had filed a civil claim against Diddy might be expecting this under the cross-examination, is what was their motivation in filing the lawsuit against the defense's client essentially. And so while Dawn at times was trying to say that she wanted justice and that she wanted to do the right thing, essentially, that the defense also pointed out, well, you did want compensation as well, too. And Dawn had to kind of own up and admit that she did want compensation for the time that she had worked on as an employee. Then the defense was asking her about her most recent communications with Diddy, as going back as early or as soon as like 2020, 2021, where essentially Dawn was reaching out to Diddy himself, was trying to get in touch with people about this kind of whole making the band. I believe it's a reboot that they were trying to do where Diddy wasn't necessarily going to be a judge, but instead Dawn wanted to use that opportunity to work with somebody else named Lori Ann Gibson. And so the defense was really kind of hammering her just about the facts that she had talked about with federal prosecutors as far as the different meetings that she had had in 2024, on March 18th of this year, on April 17th of this year, again just pointing out specifics in regards to this egg incident, but also at the same time going into specifics about whether or not she felt threatened to working with Diddy, and if she felt threatened, if she felt scared for her life, why did she continue reaching out to Diddy as late as 2020 or 2021? You know, as we ended direct examination on Friday, they were really kind of hitting on the point that after Dawn, Rashard, and even her bandmate at the time, Kalina Harper, allegedly witnessed this physical assault with the whole egg skillet thing, because that's kind of how they were summing up this particular incident, was the egg skillet incident. She was asked on Friday, what did Diddy...
That's a little boring. I get it, right? This egg skillet, it gotta be... There's nothing else in this. There's nothing else there. Hold on, my bad.
One, you know...
Let me switch over. Not low tier guy. I'm gonna switch over to the committee meeting with Kirsty Noem, DHS Secretary, testifying before the Homeland Security Committee. Let me make sure it looks straight and stretch it out a little more. Give my girl a little more face room. Cause the other, I was trying to give my girl from Lawn the thing like more face, but they kept switching scenes and cameras, so I gotta space it out and go into the. I get it. But let's tap in and see what the DHS Secretary is talking about.
And staff that have been over there, and that's reflective in the fact that many of them were doing work that they shouldn't have been doing.
And I hope you look at our bill, the Risky Research Review Act. Administrations do a lot of things and a lot of good things, and then they go away when the next administration comes in. The good thing about this legislation, it would be a presidential commission of scientists to define on a continual basis what is or isn't gain of function, to rule on that. It's been voted upon in a bipartisan way. It was a unanimous vote out of this committee. It's one of the few things in Congress we actually, I think, have bipartisan support for. So we hope the administration will look at that and consider making a public endorsement of that. That way we can make permanent the things you're trying to do to constrain gain of function. Thank you for that, your testimony. And with that, I recognize Senator Peter.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Noem, thank you for being here again. Before the committee today. I also appreciated the time we spent yesterday morning on the phone discussing a variety of issues, and I look forward to those kinds of discussions continuing in the future. As you know, the protections for sharing information under the Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act of 2015 confusingly referred to as CISA 2015, but it deals with the information sharing, expires at the end of September. This is a critical authority that applies to information sharing across the federal government.
My speaker's too loud on my computer.
Agency,
I like Rand Paul too, for
the
real.
agency the ability to have robust and timely cyber
What's up, Truth Hurts? How's your day going?
between
How's your
public
morning?
and private sectors, as well as among private sector companies, so folks have an understanding of the threat landscape.
Real quick, for my homies for the Two Field Pod, we got 30 minutes till Chick-fil-A stop serving breakfast. So a whole lot of FC. We know we have a group chat. We have a FIFA Pro Clubs team, actually. Top 1,500 in the world. No, we're not world champs. I'm not trying to twist it, get anybody twisted on there, but we are one of the top pro clubs, EAFC teams in the world, right? I'm probably one of the best dribblers out here. They call me Young Finney Jr., right? But forgot where I was going. There's a little promo. It's almost, you got 30 minutes before Chick-fil-A stops serving breakfast. So if you're in line right now, let me know. Also, let me know what you're grabbing for breakfast, because I believe Chick-fil-A has one of the best breakfasts that are out there, right? For fast food, if you're not cooking at home, right? But it is what it is. Either way, I actually think, I just realized I haven't ate. So let me go ahead and eat before the day gets away from me.
That's out there and have full awareness of what's coming at them by nefarious actors. Does the administration support the extension of this incredibly important authority that I've been hearing about from a number of stakeholders that they're very concerned it's going to expire? Does the administration support the extension?
Yes, we do. Thank you, Senator Peters. It's a very important piece of legislation, does endorse it for 10 more years, which I think is a long enough time frame for us to really make sure that we have the stability we need in this area to create those kind of partnerships you were talking about with private industry. We need their expertise and their knowledge and their interaction with those across the world that hate the United States of America to come in and cooperate with us to make sure we're prepared to secure our systems and our critical infrastructure.
Great. Well, I look forward to your support, the administration's support, so we can pass this extension, a 10-year extension, before it expires. You're absolutely right how critical it is. Secretary O'Donnell, I'm also concerned about the increasing number of security threats that we're seeing from drone incursions to public spaces, to airports, critical infrastructure sites all across our country, as we spoke about yesterday morning. Just last week, a man in Michigan was arrested after he allegedly tried to attack the U.S. Army's Tank Automotive and Armaments Command facility at the Detroit Arsenal in Warren. According to prosecutors, the man flew a drone over the facility to conduct operational reconnaissance, further highlighting the need to ensure that law enforcement is properly resourced to deal with this growing threat. While I understand that there are safety concerns with the technology that need to be addressed by the
Just drove in from LA. There's never accountability while you even have trials. That's real.
DHS and DOJ's counter-drone authorities that also expire at the end of September, because this threat, as you know, is not going away. Last Congress, Senator Johnson and I introduced a bill, S-1631, that I think is a good starting point. So my question for you, Secretary Noem, is can I get your commitment that we can work together to not only reauthorize these authorities on a long-term basis, but actually strengthen those authorities to make sure we deal with this persistent threat?
Yes, Senator Peters, I'll take a look at your legislation specifically, but we do need to reauthorize the authorities that we do have in order to address not just our Homeland Security day-to-day activities, but we're hosting some very large events in this country that will, I think, challenge our ability to secure that many large events at one time. So having those kind of authorities and addressing what we can do to cooperate with states and local governments and cities in locations where big events happen would be very important to do that. So you're right, the expansion of those authorities needs to be looked at to make sure it's appropriate, but also gives us the tools we need to keep people safe. We've got the Club Cup coming this summer, the World Cup next summer, which will be 10 million ticketed people, 22 million people that will be involved in the activities surrounding it. The Olympics coming. That's important we address this now so we can be proactive.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate that. Senator Johnson and I would appreciate it. And our biggest supporter for our bill is actually the National Football League, who have real concerns about their games. We've already had games interrupted, and it could be more serious at some point. Secretary Noem, 2 weeks ago during a Senate appropriations hearing, you told me very clearly to the questions that I had that CISA was, quote, back on mission, end of quote. If this is accurate, my question is, why is the administration proposing to cut $500 million from an agency's budget for an agency that's on mission right now?
Okay.
When those activities you previously described as off mission, specifically election security work, cost about $20 million. Those folks have been let go. They're no longer there. I can understand a cut of $20 million, but this is a cut of $500 million. So specific, what, if you could tell this committee what specific activities or departments at CISA does the department plan to cut as a result of these very large proposed cuts? And if you could please give some specific examples of offices and programs. And you know, as you know, the
like my man Scott back there, but I don't think that's Scott.
Are extensive. You have a lot on your plate. You have a lot to cover. You need to have resources to do that. This is a pretty significant cut in funding, and we need to know exactly what protection will not be offered after these cuts go into effect.
Yeah, we will continue to fulfill all the statutory requirements that the Department of Homeland Security has and has given to CISA as in the work that it does. Putting it back on mission means that it fulfills the responsibility of why it was created, and that's to be the cybersecurity agency of the nation, to go out and secure our critical infrastructure, work with small and medium-sized businesses and states and localities to give them the insight and wisdom they need to make sure that they're not vulnerable to hackers or nefarious activity. Getting rid of censorship, getting rid of the Ministry of Truth at CISA, the employees that were duplicative, that were fulfilling roles that wasn't related to cybersecurity was something that we addressed, I would say, under the president.
Hungry Root is the easiest way to...
I ain't gonna hold you. I was about to switch it anyway. If you've been here before, you know we don't watch other people's ads on this stream. So what we have here is RFK, who was testifying before the Senate Appropriations Committee. Gonna switch over to that. That just started.
Naloxone nasal
Gotta
spray.
love RFK speaking. He draws a crowd.
Almost a decade, this committee has increased funding towards the goal of finding treatments and a cure for Alzheimer's disease. This goal is very personal to me, since both of my parents lived with and eventually succumbed to this horrible disease.
Yes, yes.
These investments have allowed NIH to fund research into a wide variety of
I'll be real with you.
disease and build evidence for prevention based on a healthy lifestyle. NIH-funded research of the amyloid protein led to the development of the FDA-approved Alzheimer's drugs in 23 and 24 to slow progression of the disease.
I had too many windows open. As a child, I actually used to go play at Alzheimer's elders daycare. And I didn't realize through my volunteer work or learn about the disease how bad it really was between Alzheimer's, dementia, and everything. So Alzheimer's personally is something I'm passionate about as well, because, and I've said this before, it's kind of heartbreaking to see someone go throughout their life and then they start to lose their memory, right? And I think that what happens from that, from all the conditions put together, is sad. I mean, there were people I was playing the piano for, and I was like 12, 13 at the time, right? It was more, I come play this week, Monday, Tuesday, cool. By Friday, maybe I'm somebody they don't, oh, it was a young man that used to do this back in, and it's just, you could tell I'm reintroducing myself maybe a couple weeks later. And, you know, it's one of those things that you realize, and it's not everybody, right? It was maybe 75 adults there. So it's more a fact of, I've seen it. And then, you know, you see it through older times. One of my, not my mom, but, you know, family friend, that's like a mother, she's going through that now, some signs of that. But it's sad. It's sad. So I'm worried about how we can actually heal that. Because to me, if we put the same passion towards that, because it's sad, any caregiver, anybody who has to deal with that is sad. I think that if we put something towards the same commitment we have to end the pandemic, to end Alzheimer's and HIV, AIDS, and cancer, and prostate cancer, and breast cancer, and all these things, I think we'll be a better country. And if it's in the food, let's maybe listen to RFK and get some of these pesticides about the food, because it doesn't make sense. But then again, it's all good till they find out it's in Publix chicken. And once they find out the pesticides in Publix chicken, the world may really turn upside down. Let's get back to it.
All this research is extremely important, and I look forward to working with you to continue to look at diversified Alzheimer's research. Wasteful spending of taxpayers' dollars must end, and I applaud you for taking a hard look at what federal research dollars are funding, and I encourage you to ensure that the fiscal year 2025 funding that Congress has already appropriated is spent in a timely manner, in particular for the vital biomedical research which could lead to life-saving breakthroughs in science. Too many families are waiting for a cure, as you know. We have a responsibility to make sure their taxpayers' dollars fund that research. You and I have talked several times, and I appreciate it so much, about the importance of the NIOSH coal programs in West Virginia and how the work conducted by NIOSH in Morgantown is unique across the federal government. I'm pleased that you brought some of these specialized NIOSH employees back to work earlier this month and then just last week reversed their rifts so that their return to the office will not be temporary. Thank you. Your decision to return NIOSH staff to the office meant that the Firefighter Fatality Investigation and Prevention Program could issue the final report on the December 27th, 2020 fire that killed a 30-year-old firefighter and injured 3 others in West Virginia. Senior Airman Logan Young was one of many who responded to the Carneysville fire. I'm glad NIOSH was able to finish their investigation and issue recommendations and final report. While your action last week was a good step, there are still other divisions within NIOSH with specialized staff who conduct essential, unique work. I support the President's vision to right-size our government, but as you and I have discussed, I don't think eliminating NIOSH programs will accomplish that goal. I encourage you to look at this closely. West Virginia, my own home state, continues to rank above the national average in both new cancer diagnoses and death. We are thankful for the work performed by the CDC National Center for Chronic Disease Prevention and Health Promotion, and I look forward to learning more about how this important work will be continued under the administration of a healthy America. Substance abuse challenges also continue to be a real problem facing West Virginia and the nation. SAMHSA funding has played an important role in West Virginia, and I want to understand how the budget proposal would impact my state. I look forward to learning more about that from you today. I will say there was a bit of good news, I believe last week, when the national statistics of overdose deaths did go down. Rural health care is a top priority for this body. CDC data shows that rural Americans are more likely to suffer from higher rates of diabetes and are more likely to die from cancer, heart disease, and stroke than urban Americans. This is unfortunately true in my state, which also leads the nation in diabetes and heart disease. Improving rural health outcomes goes hand in hand with investing in the healthcare workforce to meet the physical and mental health challenges in America. HRSA has been a trusted federal partner on rural health issues for decades. HRSA has funded critical rural health capacity building and other initiatives across the country and administers the healthcare workforce programs that help bring medical providers into local communities. You have proposed moving HRSA into the new AHA, and is that how I say it? AHA. I would like to learn more about how your budget proposal would invest in rural America. We have a difficult task ahead of us, but it's my hope we can and will come together, just as we have done in prior fiscal years, to use our limited resources in the most efficient and effective way. So, Secretary Kennedy, I look forward to your testimony, and I now will yield to my, or not yield, but turn the microphone over to Senator Baldwin.
Thank you, Chair Capito, and I too look forward to continuing our strong bipartisan work together. Secretary Kennedy, today we are here to talk about your fiscal year 2026 budget request to Congress. You run a department dedicated to improving the health and well-being of every American. And these programs that you are responsible for administering touch the lives of all Americans at a critical moment in their lives, from research for life-saving cures and treatments for devastating diseases, to maternal health care, to child care, to addressing substance use and mental health. You have repeatedly pledged that you would run the department with, I quote, radical transparency. While this is a great catchphrase, it could not be further from the reality that we're experiencing right now, as we talked about yesterday. As required by law, a few weeks ago, the department sent this committee a plan for how it will be spending appropriated funds this year under the CR. But instead of providing Congress and the American people with any information about how the department is spending tens of billions of taxpayer dollars, there are only asterisks in place of spending levels for over 530
Real quick, and I know I've seen some people who are in the chat who are writing in Arabic, I believe. As I've translated, they detected Arabic. I thought it was Hebrew, so excuse me. They are all from the Tija Hamat area, north of Baghdad, Tija, from the Banu Tamim monks. Thank you. I have to read more into that.
Programs. In no other job under the sun.
I thought
can
that
you
was Hebrew.
essentially
I'm tripping.
blank how you are spending.
Let me translate some more of
billions
this.
Of dollars. This is flatly unacceptable when we are talking about tax.
Boss Dog, welcome to the stream, man.
Represent deserve better. You are undertaking a massive and disruptive overhaul of the department. You are shutting entire.
Hold on, I'm trying to translate. Don't write so fast. I'm trying to translate it. Then my copy paste not working. Hold on.
Your plan for all of this that you've provided to Congress is little more than 1 page long. And that shows the
See, it didn't detect.
I'm assuming today you're going to reiterate talking points about how you are consolidating offices and eliminating duplicative functions. But Secretary Kennedy, this is a genuine request. Please sit down and talk to us in detail about what you are doing.
I can't translate none of this. 1830, what?
Both sides of the political aisle about your plans for the department and what you are doing right now. For a department this important, anything less is simply not acceptable. Let me turn to what it is that we do know about your budget request and what is happening at the Department of Health and Human Services. Your fiscal year 2026 budget requests cuts to the National Institutes of Health of $18 billion. That would have a devastating impact on research into life-saving cures and treatments for devastating diseases, setting back medical innovations by decades. It would push the brightest scientific minds to work in other countries. It would cede our leadership in biomedical research to China. It would also take away hope from millions of American families. For the family receiving a devastating diagnosis of pediatric cancer, like Charlie and her mom, Emily, who spoke to this committee last month, it would mean less hope. For Jesse, a veteran and a father with ALS, and his son, Dewey, who wants his dad to see him graduate from high school, it would mean less hope and less time. This budget says a lot about the priorities of this administration. And normally I could, disregard it as only a request. But it provides insight into what you're doing right now in fiscal year 2025. At the same time you are submitting this request, you are actively stopping billions of dollars in NIH funding for life-saving research, including on cancer and Alzheimer's disease. You are implementing changes right now that are ripping away hope and life-saving cures from American families. If you aren't already, I think this administration is heading down the road of illegally impounding funding across HHS. Mr. Secretary, your budget request also cuts funding for CDC in half. Today, you will allude to consolidating programs into a new administration for Healthy America. But you can't just slash funding, fire everyone, slap a slogan on a new agency, and say that work will continue. In previous years, I would have called this only a proposal, reassured by the fact that Congress would reject it and rewrite our own. But this year, right now, you are dismantling CDC, seemingly in line with your budget request. Congress did not approve that. On a bipartisan basis, Congress funded the CDC to administer programs that provide critical public health support to states and local communities across the country. That includes the CDC Childhood Lead Poisoning Program. When the city of Milwaukee asked CDC for help addressing a lead crisis in schools, CDC should be able to provide support and assistance. because Congress appropriated $51 million for CDC to do its job, to address lead
I'll be real with you, man. Can we get to the response, bro? Because see, this how long
no
is this?
intention of eliminating this program.
To be real, chat. Can we be real, chat? Hey, Ramon. Good morning. All right. Let's be real. How do you expect to make this whole long speech to me and expect me to respond? It's not happening. It's another. I get it. You have to extrapolate the facts of what people don't know about the cuts, about what she's saying, about the points. But bro, come on, man. This is a long intro, Senator Baldwin, and I don't know Senator Baldwin, but I mean, there's a point of okay, you're talking, I'm just not listening anymore. Because at what do you want me to address? Because you're gonna ask me this now as the intro, then you're gonna ask me later to grill me about it, and I'm not gonna give you the answer you want. And that's different, I guess, in the state and the federal level. It's like some questions they don't really answer. But on the state level, it's like they have to answer. Hey, we cutting everything. So it's different, but it's the same. It's boring.
You fired the entire office responsible for carrying it out. So CDC told Milwaukee Public Schools that they simply couldn't help. Your decision to fire staff and eliminate offices is endangering children, including thousands of children in Milwaukee. If you have a proposal to make these programs work better, present it and justify it. Mr. Secretary, you will say that you have to fire thousands of employees and eliminate programs like LIHEAP because our deficit is too large. But you won't mention that at the same time this administration is proposing these cuts, it's proposing tax cuts for billionaires that will add trillions to our debt. You are cutting programs and firing staff with no plan and no understanding of what the department you are leading even does for the American people. And that's why you have to rehire staff working on the World Trade Center.
Like, honestly, and Kevin, you bring up a great point. People are mad at me now, right? And it's not about me. People get mad at me now because like, oh, you're cussing, you're saying the KNEE grow word on live stream, you're doing all these things to just insult people's intelligence and it demeans you. Cool. I'm freestyling. You can see the passion in this and you know that, okay, he's coming from a place of he'll maybe go research it. He'll bring it here to the stream for what it is, right? Cool. But a part of this is you're reading the whole speech. He has probably made no eye contact with the camera. And sometimes, I get distracted because I have a monitor here, my laptop here, a screen here, and I see, the chat and everything. I have another screen here and the camera's here, right? So sometimes I get caught where I'm talking, kind of adds to the theatrics, whatever, right? But I know the camera's here. She's barely making contact with the camera. She's reading the speech because it's not passion. It's not authentic. And I think that's why some people actually may have subscribed to the channel because they see the authenticity, because I would probably worn this hoodie at least on 3 or 4 streams. I'm gonna just not wear this hoodie for 3 whole weeks of streams. Guess what? I'm not wearing this hoodie again until we hit 5,000 subscribers. When we hit 5,000 subscribers on this channel, that's when I'll bring this hoodie back to the channel. Until then, I'm packing it up. I'm gonna put it away. So guess what? Y'all gonna see every other hoodie, every other piece of clothing I have until then. But 5,000 subs, we're gonna put this hoodie away. We hit 49.99.99. I'm bringing it back out to hit 5, okay? But either way, there's passion in the conversation. There's the issue of knowing that, you know what? You can give me a piece of paper with 10 words on it, and these 10 words are gonna guide my whole conversation, all right? I learned that from actually doing my TED Talk. But it's a fact of saying there's no passion. So Kevin, I completely agree with you. Thank you for tapping into the stream today. I know my boy Kevin's been here before, but if you haven't, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. I am the hip hop lobbyist. I'm a professional lobbyist in the state of Florida. Some people don't like my realness. Some people don't like the fact that I'm uncut. Some people don't like that I'm a college dropout who's end up being successful in the legislative process, and they want to question my ability to get things done. Guess what? I'm the 0.0001. I'm in that 0.001% of black people in the state of Florida, in the 3rd largest state in this country, that actually understand politics and have made government move. Resources, put constitutional amendments on the ballot, everything else. So if you want like a real opinion from someone who's not in the suit and tie, again, we've been in this hoodie for at least 4 or 5 streams. We're packing it up till we get to 5,000. Either way, Kevin, appreciate you tapping in. Ramon, everyone else, from wherever you are. We've had people from South Africa, Finland, Houston, New York, Cali, Seattle, Canada, Mexico, all over on the stream. I've been surprised. And even some people writing in Arabic, and I would assume they're from an Arabic country across. So either way, like and subscribe. I appreciate y'all tapping in. And no, that is not Dana Carvey. Random pipe layer asks, is that Dana Carvey? No, it's not. But I can see the joke. It's hilarious, man. If you're a lobbyist, who pays you? I am actually a lobbyist for a lot of nonprofit organizations that work with youth programs, right? My biggest thing is, and before we get to it, do I make a full face or do y'all just want this, right? I work for organizations that need a seat at the table. When I started in the process, I worked at a law firm and we represented some of the biggest interests in the state. The biggest counties, the biggest hospitals, the biggest universities, everything. Then I basically took a step away and started my own organization because I realized there are a lot of minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, black-owned businesses, whatever, that just needed a seat at the table. So that's really helped, like people who, it's not just black-owned businesses, right? It's, you have a community development center that's providing substance abuse and mental health help for people in the hood, right? Let me help you get a seat at the table. You have a charter school that kids are dealing with PTSD syndromes, and every other school in the neighborhood is a D school, and you're an A+ school for 3 or 4 years in a row. Let me help you get a seat at the table. You're a clinic that has suicide prevention because we live in one of the largest suicide happening cities in the state. Let me help you provide trauma for people who are dealing with the deaths of people from gang violence and suicide and things like that. So that's really my passion. For the hot button issues of what people drive the narrative on, the impact on the quality of a black life, Black Lives Matter, right? What I like to do is, who I lobby for, organizations that can improve the quality of all lives, right? Because I know that the efforts we put in will benefit everybody. Whether it's a white clinician who's working with people or a therapist to help a black child, it all works together, right? So it's about improving the quality of life and actually giving people a seat at the table outside the narrative. And I think that's the part of, and I learned it again from my FAMU folks, they were mad at me because my narrative didn't match what they wanted. And I'm looking at it from a less emotional standpoint where I'm not emotionally tied to a political move, right? A lot of people are. I look at it, okay, if that's, I'm a Raiders fan, put it this way. I didn't want Geno Smith as a quarterback. Hey, non-tac, I appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you tapping in, dropping $10 for it, man. Hey, appreciate you, my brother. But I didn't want Geno Smith as a quarterback. I would prefer Shedeur Sanders. But now Geno is my quarterback, right? I have to work within the system. Now, I know that it could fail. I know we can have a bad season. Guess what? We've had a lot of bad seasons. Maybe it can work out. So it has to be a point where you're like, you know what? You have to work within the confines of what you have because that's the reality of what we do. And we do it in sports. Ask the New York Jets. You draft somebody, you like that. That's really it. So politically, when people don't agree with it, they disenfranchise. They don't want to do nothing. They just want to put fear into people. But to me, it's not about fear. It's about impact. So at least doing that. So that's what I work for, Kevin. I appreciate you asking the question and tapping in and subscribing. And my dog non-tactical gamer came through supporting the stream as well, man. Appreciate the love, brother. I really do, man. Y'all tap in with my dog non-tactical gamer. Drop a like and subscribe. But let's get back to this because I have some other stuff I want to get into. I have a couple meetings later today, so I'm having an early morning stream. I want to get into not only this House. Are they speaking yet? They have a House Speaker meeting about their meeting with Trump that's coming up. But I also want to get into some of that tax plan once that's done and talk about some issues like housing, right? Because in Metro Atlanta, they're saying that I can actually switch this over. Hold on. I'm talking and not showing. Let me show it. Hold on. Ooh, there we go. I'm going to get somebody. Eventually, the stream's going to go. I'm going to have somebody who's able to do all this stuff for me. Like, hey, man, switch to this screen. Yeah, no, that ain't the right screen, right? So it gets to a point of saying, let me make sure y'all can see this. Damn, I got to straighten up everything. So, yeah, they're going to have my scenes right. I'm freestyling. But y'all here with your boy. Metro Atlanta has the highest rate of corporate home ownership, Georgia State researcher says. And to me, it's this. That the tax plan that Trump is putting together and the Republicans. This is an issue that John Ossoff, the senator from Georgia, is investigating to kind of limit the amount of properties, single family homes people could own and afford, right? Cool. That's great. But in this tax plan, it doesn't have anything that stops that. It actually, in some aspects, helps investors with new rental property construction, right? And the thing is, we read this headline, it's like, damn, okay, what we're going to do? The housing price is going up. Everything's going up. I want to get my homeboys who are realtors on the chat and say, okay, what's the impact of what's really happening, right? And if this is coming down from the tax structure on what's in this House bill, how does that really impact the housing market? Because it's not just Atlanta. It's South Florida. My homies told me it's Colorado. So I'm going to take the information that's out there and say, okay, cool. How do we as a people, as a culture of people, black, white, indifferent, people who just like, hey, how do I navigate this government shit? What's really happening? Understand what's happening. So we can be better prepared, because it's not about stopping everything. It's not about everything's racist. It's not about, oh, it's only for the rich. It's like, damn, how can we be prepared for this? Because if we can prepare for this, and have the right answers, then we can go. But if we don't have a game plan, and you throw Geno Smith out there, it don't matter what he does, because we just freestyling. So let's at least, as a community and culture, let's start freestyling. Kevin, I appreciate you tapping in. But this is one of the issues. It ends up being affordable housing. But again, how can we address this issue in a meaningful way, I would say. So let me get back to the HHS secretary. Let me skip past her, because your girl talking, she's still talking. All right, RFK is talking. We're going to get into RFK's response. I'm going to skip through the stream because I know she was born. Let's get there. Hold on, before my dog start talking, I need to know who these two brothers are. Can y'all see? Hold on, I got to straighten this out. Who are these two brothers with RFK? We have not determined who these two. I don't know if they're security. They could be Secret Service. They could be Kennedys, right? Somebody find the identities of these Remy Dantones, because they could be lobbyists too. You never know. Old lobbyists turn staffers.
Is it on now?
Yeah, it is.
All right, thanks. Thank you, Chairwoman Capito, and thank you, Ranking Member Senator Baldwin, and all the members of this committee. I'm honored to appear before you today to present the Department of Health and Human Services fiscal year 2026 budget. Debilitating disease, contaminated food, toxic environments, addiction, mental health affect families across every race, class, and political belief. When my team and I took the helm at HHS, we set out with clear goals. First, we aimed to make America healthy again with a special focus on chronic disease epidemic. Second, we committed to delivering more efficient, responsive, and effective service to the over 100 million Americans who rely on Medicare, Medicaid, and other programs. Third, we focused on achieving these goals while cutting costs for taxpayers. We intend to do more, a lot more, with less. The budget I'm presenting today supports these goals and reflects two enduring American values: compassion and responsibility. I invite the committee to unite around these ideals with me. The United States remains the sickest developing nation, despite the fact that we spend $4.5 trillion annually on health care, 2 to 3 times more per capita than comparable nations.
I want to pause real quick, address Run's question. Do you want, let me kind of pop it back on the stream. Hold on. Let me go back up to Run's question. It's not highlighting. Damn, I need to work that out too. Do you want forced life improvement by the government? No. Leave freedom alone and let the government be low. They are the referee and line runner at that. I get you. But there's a point of saying this. I'm a homeowner, right? And I'm not knocking people who are investors. But there's a point of saying, as a homeowner, I may have people around me whose properties are owned by corporate investors, right? I'll tell you for a fact, they don't take care of their property as much as somebody who actually owns it. So that's one aspect. The other thing is, respectfully, if all these corporations are buying all the homes, how can you ever have the American dream if they own damn near 40-50% of everything in your city? Single family homes and damn near multifamily, right? What are we talking about? Everybody would be a renter at that point. Or you would have to strike on a GameStop AMC options run, become a millionaire, billionaire overnight, and then fight back to buy all these properties and then put them whatever, right? That's the only way you'll be able to catch up. So I think it's less of government improving life, because that's quietly what opportunity zones are in rural and other places. So you could say that, okay, cool. Do you want government to do it? These investors they're going to put $100 billion investments in these areas to improve the quality of life. So you have to, you can take the question, very respect the question, but you have to look at it overall, man. Let me get back to RFK though. Y'all be holding me up, man.
Clearly, something is structurally wrong.
Yeah, got to hit a parlay to get a house. That's real.
We've been pouring into these programs for years has not resulted in better health for Americans. Furthermore, healthcare costs are steadily increasing at a rate of 2% greater than the economy. If we don't staunch this unsustainable hemorrhage, we will ransom our children to bankruptcy, servitude, and disastrous health consequences. Yes, an exploding debt is a social determinant of health. We won't solve this problem by throwing more money at it. We must spend smarter. We will shift funding away from bureaucracy toward direct impact. Some things at HHS will not change. We will preserve legacy programs like Medicare, Medicaid, and Head Start as the foundation of the MAHA agenda. Vulnerable populations, seniors, veterans, American Indians deserve consistent access to care, and I will ensure that they receive it. Today, 83 million Americans, urban and rural, lack adequate access to primary health care physicians. We will prioritize these families, especially the Native American and Alaskan communities. Protect IHS funding, streamline its operations, and give the tribes more autonomy in managing their resources. Let me be clear, we intend to make the Trump HHS not just the most effective, but also the most compassionate.
I'm going to stop there. We have Florida Junior Senator Ashley Moody questioning Kristi Noem and the DHS committee for my Florida people, the former Attorney General. I want to hear what she has to say regarding DHS Secretary, Homeland Security, excuse me.
Everyone in this room and everyone in this country, that you are a welcome addition as the head of DHS. In fact, you heard time and time again from everybody that's been questioning you. They sought repeatedly documents from that agency. I litigated as Florida's Attorney General against DHS and Secretary Mayorkas and sought documents. And as part of that, and I hate that it took litigation to uncover what I believe was the most destructive cover-up in our nation's history. But I uncovered plans by DHS when the border was overrun to just step back and let everybody come in and facilitate that. Plans to push quotas into the interior daily. Plans to build illegal programs to bring more and more people directly here from out of our country here. Plans to illegally release people into the U.S. that had been brought here for prosecution, solely for prosecution for drug crimes from outside our country. And when they finished their decades-long prison sentence as drug traffickers, instead of historically as they would have been deported, they put them back into the community in which they were prosecuted and released them. The premeditated calculation that went into destroying our borders and pushing barely vetted, oftentimes dangerous people into this nation, I believe was something that we will look back on in a nation and say that was the moment as a country we stopped taking seriously protecting the sovereignty of our nation, our security, and making sure first and foremost we were keeping an eye on the plans of our enemies and the weaknesses that we had as a country.
Senator Moody, I need you to get to the question. Respectfully. No beef.
You've been home in your state, coming back to the swamp to try and reverse the damage that was done. In fact, we've been talking a lot about cover-ups and things that were kept from the American people in the last administration. Your predecessor sat here and testified to Congress time and time again while I was busy litigating as an AG, uncovering the real plans. The border is secure. The border is secure. The border is secure. Time and time again, he lied. And in terms of someone that needs to be held accountable for perjuring themselves, it's not just about not providing information. It's about lying to the American people as he systematically made our country weaker and put their lives and their families in danger. I think that is abhorrent. I cannot believe a person was allowed to be trusted with the responsibility he was given, and I am so glad that you're willing to be here and take questions and provide documents about that. The Coast Guard is one of the things I think you said to testimony. It's been neglected for years. Our service is outmanned and equipped by Russia, China, and the cartels. We need cutters. I can tell you in Florida under the last administration, we kept seeing people, many times criminals, coming to our shores. We are a maritime border, obviously. We had to surge resources. Thankfully, President Trump came in on day one and asked that we do that, so we were able to surge resources there. But I just wanted to give you some sort of example. In the last year, we saw 13,500 illegal aliens stop from entering Florida, about almost 700 vessels that we kept from coming onto shore. So important that we get the Coast Guard cutters, get those ships built, ramp up assets. Thank you for that commitment. I am concerned that we might, in trying to do that so quickly, much needed, that we give foreign nations or companies outside the United States contracts. Do I have your word you will look at how we can readily increase our Coast Guard assets like our Coast Guard cutters, but using American businesses?
Absolutely. That's one of the things that Force Design 2028 focuses on, is making sure that we're building those kind of partnerships to meet the needs that the Coast Guard has. And I'd say our greatest asset is our people. I'm so thrilled with the fact that Coast Guard recruitment is at 108% of its recruitment goal, just because of the excitement to serve in a fleet that gets to do its mission again and recognizes that it's been neglected for too long, but there's a focus and a recognition of the important work that they do.
And certainly Florida has participated a lot with partnering with not only in Texas at our southern border, we've sent assets there, but we are ramping up our own assets to complement what was not provided up to us in the last administration. Thank you for your dedication to making sure that's provided to us so we can secure our own maritime border. Appreciate that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you.
Perfect 5 minutes. Thank you. Senator Kim.
So really, Senator Moody, respectfully, she ain't even asked no question for real. She just went straight into, the same old. Just, I'm gonna make a comment, which I guess is cool. We just missed time to listen to RFK. That's really what it was. But, I wanted to check in with a good senator to see what she had to say.
Priorities, but I want to highlight a few.
But it really wasn't much. I'm not disappointed, but it is what it is, man.
Programs to better tackle
President Obama, 28.
addiction.
I'm saying President
These issues now rival
Obama.
chronic
Okay,
disease
Chris.
and their impact. HHS will aggressively combat the opioid crisis, especially the spread of synthetic drugs like fentanyl. We will empower state, local, and tribal leaders to create effective solutions.
I want to welcome everybody on TikTok to the stream. We just went live on TikTok and YouTube. We're about to go live on Twitch
President's budget
and Rumble in a bit.
$94 billion in discretionary funds to support these priorities, including the Administration for Healthy America.
I may do Instagram.
We will emphasize healthy eating.
I know the FAMU is looking for me to be on Instagram. I should live stream on Instagram on their ass and be like, damn, he ain't talking about us. Hell no, I'm over that shit.
Third, we will.
I'm gonna tell you, pause. I'm gonna tell you why. I was getting attacked by the FAMU folks for talking about Will Packer and his whole presidential search. Right? I think I talked about it earlier, but some of y'all may not have been here. Right? Cool. So then I went to Google Trends on Saturday and Sunday to check top 25 searches in America, because the rest of the world don't care. So in America, in the past 24 hours, guess what? That thing wasn't in the top 150 searches in America on Google Trends. So y'all still mad? Bitch, get out your feelings. Okay, we back to it. RFK.
To expand its food safety efforts through research.
We making new content, man. The world got to keep going.
To remove harmful chemicals.
If you're not politically prepared, you be ran over, man. What are we talking about?
Fourth, we will fund cutting-edge research at the NIH while cutting risky or non-essential studies. That includes ending gain-of-function experiments and research based upon radical gender ideology. At the CDC, we will return to core missions, tracking diseases, investigating outbreaks, and sustaining public health infrastructure while cutting waste. Fifth, we will eliminate DEI funding and redirect resources toward real poverty reduction. We will move beyond lip service to communities of color and take meaningful action to meet their needs, as we did last week when we approved South Carolina's application for support for a program, the first program in the country that provides cell therapy and gene therapy to every person in South Carolina who has sickle cell anemia.
I'll be real, I didn't know about that. I'm gonna look that up on the side. Did y'all know about that, chat? Let's get into this. But RFK said they're doing some stuff. South Carolina sickle cell. Let's see what they did. I'm gonna pull it up on another screen.
6, we will strengthen cybersecurity and health IT. The AI revolution has arrived, and we will be the cutting-edge agency using this technology to manage healthcare data more efficiently and securely, and to give Americans control over their own health. Finally, we will rebuild public trust that eroded through years of industry capture, waste, and misplaced priorities. We will launch a new era of transparency and public service, creating an honest, science-driven HHS that answers to the president, to Congress, and the American people. And I just want to say, salute the people wearing purple in this room. I assume as an emblem of their commitment to solving the Alzheimer's crisis.
That makes sense why President Trump has the purple tie on today. And I need to go upstairs and put my purple tie on today. Even though we said no suits, no scripts, I probably put on the purple tie around my hoodie. All right, we'll go get a purple hoodie. It makes sense, man. That's on me because I didn't know that was today. I'm passionate about the issue, but I didn't know, so it falls on me. That falls on me.
A very, very good example of how NIH has gone off the rail over the past 20 years with research on amyloid plaques and cutting off any other hypothesis because of corruption within the agency, and that has derailed Alzheimer's research in this country for 20 years, and I'm committed to solving the problems of Alzheimer's, also understanding why we're having an epidemic of Alzheimer's, why it is increasing.
Facts.
And I have Alzheimer's in my family, and many members of my family are activists in this community, and I have a deep personal commitment to solving this issue. I look forward to working with Congress.
That's one thing. I don't care how you feel about politics, Democrat or Republican. If they're talking about funding more research to solve issues like Alzheimer's and dementia, because it's Alzheimer's and dementia, it's not just Alzheimer's, I think I can support that regardless of it, because when you've seen somebody deal with it, like I have a very close family friend that's dealing with a cause from that or whatever, not to say it's complicated, so I don't want to share too much, right? But it's a fact of saying, damn, it is heartbreaking when you see it. It's heartbreaking. So I support that, man. What president do you like? Like, you mean right now, today, overall, my time? I got inspired in politics around Obama, so, I'd rank him. But I like Bill Clinton. After I read George W. Bush's Decision Points book, he ranked higher in my list. So George W. Bush quietly is like second, third, no lie. I was born around, I guess, the Reagan-Bush era, like that turn. So I can't really count that, right? So they would be bottom, whatever it is. So I've had Clinton twice, George W., Obama, Biden, Trump, Biden. I will put Trump maybe, who'd I have? Obama, George W., Bill Clinton. I put Biden, Trump. And I put Biden there, not even about policy, to be real. I have friends that worked in the White House that gave me one of my goals last year, to have my son on the White House lawn for Easter. I didn't want to go to the concerts. I didn't want to do all the rest of this highfalutin, take a picture shit. Oh, we on the White House lawn. Look at us, black people. We built this. Now we're here partying, right? I didn't want all of that. I wanted to stand in line to have my son roll an egg on the White House lawn. I did it with my homeboy, the artist, 3-0 Black. we took both of our sons, Legend and Big POTUS, to the White House. It wasn't about Biden. It wasn't about, so Biden gets 4th for me there, right above Trump. But if Trump invites me to the White House and Big POTUS, he may move up the top 3, dog. But you know, it is what it is. But that's my piece. Obama more inspirational as a point of like he sold a hope in the change, even though some of it didn't happen. It is what it is. But he's up there. I say George W. Bush again. I'm trying to get through the rest of the list. Who did I say third? Whoever I said third. Biden 4th. Trump 5th. And George W. down there somewhere. I mean George H. But that's about it, man. To the point, Alzheimer's funding, I don't care you're Democrat or Republican. That's one thing I can honestly support and say, you know what, give it everything you need to help fight and end this disease, because it doesn't make sense why it's happening. Because almost like, realistically, why so many of today's kids may be developmentally delayed or autistic, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, right? Because some great kids are autistic, right? Not special needs, but special abilities. And I think it's amazing when we provide resources around that child to make sure, just because they're nonverbal or whatever it may be, that they have everything that they need, that a parent has everything they need. So I can get behind funding for programs that take care of basic needs and get out of the spinning the block on just running people's blood pressure up. Because in one instance, they'll be like, oh, they racist. Look how Trump's doing this. He's only helping the wealthy people. All right, cool. I get it. But if he provides funding for your mama who is needing to be in the Alzheimer's clinic or needing, and that helps her, let's just be transparent about everything. And I think that's the reason. No bullshit. No, sorry, I'm not supposed to cuss. Sorry, no bull. A lot of people got mad at me saying, oh, like I had lawyers coming out. Not just one, like several lawyers coming at me about statutes I quoted and things I'm saying. You saying that Will Packer makes MAGA movies is a stretch. And I'm like, bro, it's not. Because what black people like to do is say everything Republican is Trump, everything Republican is racist, everything Republican is MAGA, right? Cool. If that's the synopsis of how the urban culture and black culture acts in politics, all right, that's the brain trust of what we know. So we spin the narrative on racism, but then what we don't do is say, you know what, after I leave the protest telling y'all to vote for Kamala, I'm going to sit down with my lawyers and my accountants to find out, okay, what can we do to scale and grow this business? Well, they just passed a new tax law that lets you take this deduction and this deduction and this deduction, and it'll help you diversify your capital stack. And then diversifying your capital stack, you'll be able to spend more resources to other places to put more into your production, right? Wow, that's great. So we'll sit here and spin the block on racism, but we won't sit here and spin the block and tell people transparently and truthfully, well, you know what? I actually agree with some of these policies. That's the part I hate. That's the part I hate about it. And people sitting here saying, oh, well, you stretching the truth. And it's not just my homies, right? The homies who we talked about in our group chats, it's not about that. It's about people who are different online, like, oh, it's a stretch. It's like, no, it's not a stretch to me, because we're not being transparent about the benefits both parties bring to us and things that both parties do to hurt us, right? Democrats don't invest in this urban culture and all that stuff and all the black votes, right, until 2 or 3 weeks before the election. All of a sudden, they find $1 million or $2 million to go energize people to say, hey, come out to vote, because they realize, oh, we're short. We need more people, so we need to engage more folks. That's a 6-month plan. There's not a 6-month plan for people. So we don't ever talk about that piece, but then it spins into, oh, well, Democrats don't invest in us. They don't care in us. Then Republicans say something, oh, they racist. They trying to disenfranchise us. Like, bruh, let's be transparent about what's really happening. And honestly, there are people impacted by a lot of these policies, but what are the benefits when you're unemployed? People get unemployment, shit, you never know. However, let's just be transparent. I'm not saying pick a side, what's right and wrong. Just know exactly what's out there. That to me is the biggest misconception, is the barbershop telephone conversations. And then when you go to actually apply for something, do something, and it's like, oh, I thought it was, well, damn, yeah, what's wrong about this? I would rather you just have the information right. So that's why I've been dedicated to this. I've received a couple of texts this morning for my dedication to the channel. So I appreciate y'all tapping in. But again, a sidetrack. from RFK. Let me get to some of the comments while we're here, right? I need to do another channel. Eventually, I'm gonna do a side. Like again, the channel's growing. I did not expect really over 3 weeks to get 1,000 subscribers. I didn't expect that. Close to 1,000 subs, right? So I'm at a point where I'm trying to. I expected 50. Okay, I'm gonna grow and get better at this and do this, but then I found out these live streams be popping, right? So I'm trying to at least hold the conversation, flow through what I'm doing, keep y'all engaged. I know it's still vertical. A lot of y'all on the phone, right? Cool. But thank y'all for taking the time to spend your day with your boy. Either way, let me get to some of these comments. Dana, Odom, Alzheimer's in the elderly is tragic. It is. And I feel bad for the caregivers that have to dedicate their time to have the patience to provide excellent care, right? No. The funding for research is wasted money. It goes to the corporations. Where else do you think it goes? I do believe some of it goes to the corporations, for the drug companies who are looking into this. But it's like, I'll be real with you, Kevin. And this is why I think a lot of people didn't take the COVID jab or the COVID shot, right? How can you tell me there's a global pandemic that you come and find a cure for in 3-4 months, but Alzheimer's, HIV, AIDS, cancer, prostate, breast, all this stuff still existed and y'all haven't found a cure for me yet? So yes, I do believe it goes to the corporations, but then it's like, okay, when do y'all want to fix this? Right? Trump talked about, oh boy, going overseas to get Ozempic, right? Ozempic's supposed to be like a diabetic medication. Now they're using it for weight loss. Okay, whatever. It'll ran the price up. But it's like, honestly, it's corporate reform. If that's the case, tell these corporations to stop holding back the drugs that'll make our community and America healthier. Nobody wants to talk about that. It's liberals are dumb. They let everybody in the country. Republicans racist. They're trying to step away everything. And nobody sits down and talks about the real issues, or at least holds the real members to the fire. Like Rand Paul said something in the other committee about a bipartisan piece of legislation everybody supports, right? Why can't we have more bipartisan pieces of legislation passed? Not just the hot button stuff, because the hot button stuff is always going to drive the issue on. They're still in the country. They're letting immigrants in. They're racist, right? Cool. But there has to be a point of saying, all right, cool. What is actually happening? What can y'all agree on something? No, because it's fundraising. It's spinning the block. And what I hate is both sides spinning the narrative. Again, Trump will say they're letting the Africans from Congo. The last administration let the Africans from Congo in. They let the Africans in and the jails are depleted. But bro, you just flew 50 Africans in from South Africa. Let's be real. Because out of all 50 countries on that continent, they African. It don't matter if they white, black, because guess what? Depending on where you are on the, whether you Egypt, down in South Africa, there are different shades of people that are African. I'm not going to say black. They're different shades of Africans. So whether they're coming from Nigeria, Congo, South Africa, Nairobi, wherever, there's a point of saying, cool, they're African. So don't go say the previous administration let Africans in if you flying 50, 60 Africans over, because you're going to give them the same tax benefits or whatever to make them feel comfortable here, right? They're not coming over here with nothing. They were African farmers over there. So what are they coming over here? What are they having? Oh, you're going to give them some land? Okay, cool.
Pursue this mission together.
That's the nonsense people talk about. We don't want to have a real conversation, because go tell the Republicans that Trump flew Africans over here, not South Africans, not Afrikaans, not white Africans. Go tell them that Trump flew Africans over here and gave them housing, gave them jobs, gave them everything. Then tell me what the people in Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana are going to say. Democrats, get smart about the messaging. I'm not even going to cuss. Because they told me again, they got mad when I was cussing and used a KNEE grow word online, and that's okay. I'm not going to use them. I'll be professional, make it sound intelligent, because that's what y'all want. Let's get real about the narrative, Democrats. Let's get just as petty as them and be real. Like, wait, again, my mama sent me on the bus every morning, 6:30 with a soup bowl. I had to have a response quick. And the response is, wait, this is a spin? Well, spin it back to on them. Run them advertisements in all the conservative states and say, you know what, let's be real. Trump is flying the Africans over. And just to scare them, put the people from the Congo, right? Because that's what they want to see. When they think African, that's what they want. That's what they're thinking. They bring in the Congolese over here and they doing it. This is what they see, but no, that's not it. They seeing this. That's what they bring in. But this is what that's the issue. Let's be real, man. Straighten it up. Let's get back to RFK. Y'all got me passionate going through the chat. Let me go back. Not the art. Let me go. Hawaii Brandon. My dog Kevin been here tapping in. I appreciate you. What are the benefits when you're unemployed? Got that. Revolution, but organized. Find the revolutionary groups if you really want change. That's true. I think there's too much politics in the revolutionary groups because the revolutionists or the leader always tries to be Malcolm X. Always try to be Martin Luther King. Nobody trying to be Fred Hampton, right? That's the issue because they seen what happened to Fred Hampton recently. And then you get into the poverty pimps who like, listen, they're the revolutionary. And it's like, what happens is they read Amos Wilson and all these old, and I'm not knocking Amos Wilson, right? They read Amos Wilson. They may listen to Charleston White. And then they go to a point of saying, you know what, because I've read all this and I'm going on the path, and this is how it happens. The construction of America, the systemic racism. And they love throwing systemic in the, what's the other one they like to use? The intersectionality, right? The intersectionality in the of the oppression and the systematic racism, and they use these words and these symbols of words over and over, and it's like, you know what, I'm the revolutionary leader because I've read Malcolm X's autobiography 10 times, and I remember when he was on the train with Red Fox and the jokes they told, you know, he just reminiscing back, and you relate that to today, but that's not today, right? So that's why the revolution fails, because the revolution don't have a strategy, it's just popularity. That's why you realize, and I noticed this in South Florida, right? They had a protest. My dogs walked on I-95 for like 2 or 3 exits. Cool. After you finish blocking up traffic's still moving. There's no strategy in this. It's just, hey, we did this. Hey, man, I cared enough to get out here and do something. That's never going to move the needle. That's why the revolutionaries don't work, because they know that if we get out and make people feel good about it, then when they come back asking for more, it's like, man, well, we going to have to, nothing. You don't have no plan for real, man. They're not Africans. They're Europeans who refuse to leave. The real South Africans are happy to see them go. I know they are, Kevin. Trust me, I know they are, right? But it's like this. If you've been in the country long enough, you claim it. So listen, he's flying. They coming from Africa. They're not coming from France. They're not coming from England or Ireland, bro. They're coming from South Africa. They're Africans, okay? The farmer Africans. They're African. Because Trump said they're coming from Africa. Yes. This administration and the previous administration letting immigrants in from Africa. That's the narrative. Go sell it in Alabama and Georgia and all the conservative areas. Like, hey, Trump, why are you letting these Africans in? Make MAGA make sense. Make it make sense to MAGA. Let me get back to this. Kevin Treasure Trash, are you professional manager? What is that? Why are you taking shots at my dog Kevin? What is Kevin and Kevin crime? We got Kevin and Kevin crime in the chat. Oh, good. Let's bring in actual migrants, not just people pretending to be one from South America. $399 Margaritaville camping in Florida. $1,400 in Montana, which are by time the RV spot. I don't know what Kevin and Kevin talking about. David, welcome to the stream. Let's get back to RFK, because they quite actually. What I'm gonna do is RFK just talking. I'm gonna get through his speech, but let me see. Yeah, Feinstein talking. Who else? I got to get to the good senators, because half of these people going to put you to sleep, boy, and I don't have time. So I'm going to get it. Is that Feinstein? She like 2 minutes away. Yeah, we got 2 minutes. That's right.
Let's work side by side to make America healthy again.
Good day, Kevin.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Mr. Secretary. And I am going to turn to the chair of the full committee, who we're honored to have here, as always, Senator Susan Collins for...
Oh, Collins. Well, I thought that was Feinstein. Boy, they all look the same.
Thank you.
Listen, you know they say all black people look the same? Some old white women all look the same, too. My bad.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And I thank the Vice Chair as well. Welcome, Secretary Kennedy. Secretary Kennedy, the military services submit to Congress what is known as an unfunded priorities list. It includes funding requests that were not included in the president's budget, but oftentimes we take from that list and do fund what the military was unable to get into the president's budget. And just to give you some idea, the unfunded priorities list range from more battleships to better housing for our troops to weapons R&D. It really covers the the map.
That and just want
Your
to
department's
sure you're
budget has
factoring
been
those.
sharply cut by 26% below the fiscal year 2025 level. If you were required, as our military services are, to submit an unfunded priorities list, what would you include on it?
That's a good question, Senator. I would include the research that has been neglected for the past 20 years on chronic disease and what's caused us to go from 3% of Americans of children having chronic disease when I was a little boy and my uncle was president to 60% today. I would want to look at the thousands, over 10,000 chemicals that are now in our food. Most of them have never been tested. I'd want to look at what's causing the infertility crisis. Why are girls in this country reaching puberty 6 years early? They're earlier than historically. Why do boys in this country have half the testosterone teenagers of a 68-year-old man? Half the sperm count of a 60-year-old man.
Wait, what? Chad, y'all heard that? Let me. What's the mile marker on this? Because I don't want to go back too far. All right. Where we at? Because I got 5 seconds. Let me go back. Is that 5 seconds?
Earlier than historically. Why do boys in this country have half the testosterone teenagers of a 68-year-old man?
Okay.
Half the sperm count of a 60-year-old man.
I've never heard that before. I didn't know that was a thing. I honestly don't know what to say, chat. How does a teenage boy today have the same testosterone and sperm count as a 60-year-old man? It's got to be in the food. But what have we been eating more? Like, there's been BurgerFi, organic food. I honestly, how can you justify that? Because you were a teenager, that means you were born at least between 2006 and today. Well, I mean, to be a teenager. But what happened? Obama was in office. Oh, I know what I'm about to say. Could have been Michelle Obama's healthy foods that really messed up our, I don't know. It's going to be some spin, but that's interesting data. It could be, you know what, it could be, no lie. Think about it. No lie. It could be this. It could be the cell phone that's in your hip pocket every day that's killing your testosterone. Because think about it. It's not just your camera. There's cell waves. You got a SIM card in here. You have cellular, whatever, Wi-Fi. You have all kind of technology coming here. And these jits doing the TikTok dances. I don't know what it is, but this to me could be it on top of the food. You have the pesticides in the food that aren't making the food as healthy and nutritious as it previously was. Then you have AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile sending signals to your crotch every day to let people know that they miss you or they want to talk to you. So this could be the number one culprit. If we're being for real, like I don't know the science behind it. They're gonna have to find out. But I believe some people have said it. But this could be it. And if you see the heart on the back of my phone, it doesn't mean anything overly symbolic outside of that because my son gave me a sticker, and he stuck it on the back of my phone, and it faded. It was a blue sticker, now it's white because the sticker part's still there. But I leave it on because I remember he stuck it and he wanted it on my phone. So that's that. So don't go looking at this and thinking it's something that is not. Just reminded me that my son wanted me to put this on my phone and make me think about him. So appreciate y'all again typing into the stream. Let's get back to this point because that was very kind of, I never knew that. I knew about the phone piece a bit, but where I think sometimes I carry it in my pocket, my shirt pocket, or even in my hoodie pouch. But in the hoodie pouch is right above. It's like the fupa. Shout out to Big Fupa. But it's like the fupa. It's not really safe because the fupa, if you don't know, is the fat upper P word area. And this would be the fat upper P word area for the man. So it's in that fupa section. I still don't feel the cell phone raising towers and it's probably all the reason why the sperm count's low in the teens.
I would want to do research on why our bees are disappearing, why 90% hive collapse,
Hey, Barbara.
which is a food issue. I would want to look at the microbiomes in the soil and how that's contributing to erosion and how the chemicals that we're using in agriculture are sickening farmers in many cases, potentially.
Hey, David.
And are destroying the microbiome and creating a situation where soil is running off and where most agronomists believe that we only have 60 harvests left. And I would want to look at why we're having an explosion in Alzheimer's in this country, not just curing it, but what is causing it.
Facts.
And
Facts.
I think NIH has done a very good job at making cancer more survivable. For example, colorectal cancer, where there's been extraordinary.
I think that I'm gonna have to restart this stream because not me, but it's getting a little choppy from RFK. Not just on my side, but for them. And I'm getting my CPU's only running 8%, so I know it's not heavy.
Science done at NIH. Why isn't NIH asking the question? Why do we have colorectal cancer in children? This is something that's new to humanity. It was never known before. And now it's an epidemic in our children, and we need to have a balance where we're looking at cures for disease.
Hey, Amy.
We're also
Checking in from Tennessee, man. I appreciate you.
on how to keep Americans
Hey, Kenneth.
healthy
Hey,
so that we can beat these
Aloha Kitty.
ruinous
Barbara.
healthcare costs, and that we can have a healthy, productive society.
Thank you. I want to turn to a couple of other issues. First of all, the LIHEAP program, which we've talked about, is absolutely vital for thousands of older Mainers and low-income families. It helps them avoid the constant worry of having to choose between keeping warm, buying essential foods and medications and other basic necessities. Now, I was pleased to see the release of the rest of the fiscal year 2025 funds, but the administration's new budget seeks to eliminate what is truly a critical program. Will you work with this committee in trying to restore the LIHEAP program so that we can avoid literally seniors and low-income families not being able to keep warm in the winter?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm from New England. Myself, my brother, for 40 years has run a Citizens Energy, which provides low-cost home heating oil to families in New England. And so many people have come to me over the years and said to me, "Thank you, your brother saved my life," because I didn't have to choose between food and heat. I was on the Navajo reservation 3 weeks ago, and Navajo President Boo Nygren said to me, if we cut LIHEAP, Navajo will die from it. So I understand the critical historical importance of this program. President Trump's rationale and OMB's rationale is that President Trump's energy policies are going to lower the cost of energy, so this program, so that everybody will get lower cost heating oil. And in that case, this program would simply be another subsidy to the fossil fuel industry. If that doesn't happen, then I would, and Congress chooses to appropriate the money, I, of course, will spend it. I've already directed the spending of $400 million in this year's budget to that, and I will work with you to make sure that those families do not suffer in that way.
Thank you. You and I have had many conversations about Alzheimer's disease and the BOLD Act. I do want to point out the CDC's cooperative agreements for the Healthy Brain Initiative and 3 dementia public health centers of excellence.
Donald Hall, I have to agree. I'm fumbling up. My bad on that. Making the United States of America healthy. I think that should be the number one goal. We need to get the chemicals and all the stuff that kills us out of our food. I mean, I'm about to be 40 in 3 months, right? There's a stronger push to make sure that, the preventative measures for colon, prostate, everything like that, right? On top of the excess stomach fat. So I gotta actually go for a walk soon. So quietly, I may end this stream in like the next 40 minutes, around 12, and go for a walk. And quietly, I may stream from my phone. Just to y'all go, let me know. Would you go on a walk with me? Chat. If we go on a walk trying to take care of this belly fat, because we're trying to get healthy, right? Make the USA healthy again. But I do believe we have to have a whole conversation. And I'm not totally disagreeing with RFK on some of these things. It doesn't make sense why you can go to your local gas station, go get 4 packs of gummy bears. Why all 4 packs of gummy bears taste different, right? That's the issue. So even for people who can't afford super healthy meals, right? At least for the people who can't afford the super healthy meals where they may be eating junk food, at least make the junk food healthier, right? And I'll say this, they make some organic gummy bears. My son, he's a toddler. He loves like the Welch's gummy bears, tastes one way, right? Speak English. Oh, my bad, Melody. You don't understand it? Okay. Appreciate you. The 200 other people here that can understand me pretty well. So I appreciate you for not understanding the English, but maybe I'll talk a little slower for you, Melody. How about that? But for the people in low income communities who cannot afford to go to Trader Joe's, I believe that we need a reform about making American food healthier so that even the poorest of the poor aren't eating crap quality, right? Eating healthy is expensive. It is. But also, I'll tell you this. Eating healthier is cheaper than ordering food from DoorDash or Uber Eats, right? If I order one meal off DoorDash or Uber Eats, it may be $30. That same $30 can go to my local grocery store, which isn't a Trader Joe's, right? It's an IGA, right? And get fruit that'll last me probably 3 or 4 days while that one meal is comparative. So there is a point of saying people's spending habits around food need to change. And they can't be lazy and they need to eat more fruits and vegetables. However, even for people who aren't there, and I'll say this, my son, again, he's gummy bears. We have the Welch's. We have, let's say y'all know the gold pack, Hasbro. Well, y'all know the gold pack gummy bears, the famous ones, right? And then they have this organic one in Publix. The organic ones taste totally different from the other two. Like you could taste the powder and the dust on the Welch's one. Like, oh, this tastes nasty, right? But then it's a price difference. Those Welch's, you can probably get BOGO for $3 or $4 a box. The organic ones, yes, they 12 packs for $8, right? It costs more, but there has to be something like that. There has to be something. There has to be some kind of tax cut, some kind of tax break. You say, you know what? Push healthier food into these communities because this will help stop colon cancer and breast cancer and receding hairlines and all these things that are happening in men and women and children. There's, again, no reason why a teenager should have a sperm count as low as a 68-year-old man, 60-plus-year-old man, whatever, right? Cool. Let's be real about what's in your food. The dyes, the MSGs, everything. But y'all got on a little tangent there, but let's get back to RFK here. Let me get right mouse. There we go.
Under the BOLD Act are expected to...
I'll go, brother. I appreciate you, Donald.
At the end of September. We initially expected that...
Rick's Games, you're right. Rick's, I've been to Trader Joe's. Only the rich go there, but I'll tell you this. You go in there, you see them 19-cent bananas, and like some of the food isn't bad. But this is the thing people don't know. There are a lot of Publixes. You may have a Kroger in your grocery stores, say whatever, right? Say right. How Trader Joe's does it is they base where they're putting their locations on the income of the community, kind of like Lululemon, right? They say that, and my homeboy says, Real to Joe, Joey Mbu, Realtor out of Houston, that basically, if you have a Lululemon in your neighborhood, you know it's safe. You know the housing prices are good. You have a great school system. You have roads with no potholes. You have a Target. The Walmart is not in your vicinity, to be frank. But Trader Joe's looks at the income level of those areas, and that's how they kind of decide, okay, off the economic piece, packaging too, right? Here's where we're going to go, because we know that there are more affluent people who are here to be there. And what these other grocery stores do is do the same thing. So they'll end up saying, you know what, between some people steal, and everything else, and people not buying certain products, and these are the only products they buy, it ends up creating this narrative that, you know, we can't be here. But it's like, you know what, realistically, there has to be some kind of tactic. Because if you put a Trader Joe's in the hood, people will come. I've gone to Trader Joe's and seen people from the hood like, what you doing in here, girl? What your bonnet on? That's what they want to avoid, right? Put Trader Joe's in the hood, and that's the thing I think some people need. Have an investor. I just don't want a healthy farm. Have some, like, y'all help grow this channel. And if this channel helps me become a millionaire, I'm gonna go bring a Trader Joe's to the hood. So go ahead and subscribe and help build the channel and help monetize and all this other stuff. When this channel gets there, we're gonna put a Trader Joe's in 5 hoods. I want to do it in Riviera Beach. I want to do it in the 3rd Ward, New Orleans. We're gonna put a Trader Joe's and document that, man. Y'all support Mr. B. Support the goal of putting the Trader Joe's in the hood. Cause I bet the people will come. Trader Joe's is the only healthy food. Is not just watch what you eat. Very true. But to be real, people who can't afford to watch what they eat gonna eat what they have available. And that's what I'm saying about the corporations putting healthier food options across the board. So if we know that some of these chemicals eventually lead to colon cancer, breast cancer, receding hairlines, all these things, if they make it illegal for these companies to put these products in their food, then that would essentially force them to sell healthier food options to people who cannot afford it. Right. So we could have the super expensive. Oh, these strawberries were only spritzed in a factory for 3 weeks a day, and they had the best taste. OK, cool. Let it be exquisite. Cool. But then you at least have a lower tier of healthier food that you know doesn't have the chemicals in it that are going to give your children colon cancer. Their kids shouldn't have cancer from the food. They shouldn't have somebody put the kids in fatter. Yeah, a lot of kids shouldn't have. Man, I got man titties. I'm about to be 40. That's because I'm sedentary most of my day. I have a desk job. Most people with desk jobs have. Listen, you don't trust a skinny cook. Most people with desk jobs are out of shape. Most of our kids shouldn't be the same way. So if it's in the food, maybe it's them being active, which is true too. And it's like, we got to be real about our society that this is one of the main culprits. But again, I appreciate Aloha Kitty for subbing. Children are fatter now. Atrazine, fluoride, fructose, red dye. Yeah, get the red dye out of the food too. In Florida, we've actually outlawed putting fluoride in the water because some people say it helps the teeth. It doesn't help the teeth for whatever it is, right? I'm not a dentist. I can't take an overall opinion on that because I can only go by what I read. So I would prefer my dentist friends that are out there to come on the show and talk about it. And even people who are in the food nutritionist world to discuss it, because there is a point of understanding, like I say, the statute and the staff analysis, knowing what's in the law, congressional, state, whatever, and then trickling it down for people to understand it from people who may or may not look like them. I'm not worried about that. Just information makes sense to them. Some people need to hear it from a conservative viewpoint for it to make sense. Some people need to hear it from a liberal. Some people just need to hear it real. I subscribe to the real. Tell me what's really going to happen so I'm prepared for it mentally, so I'm not sitting here in angst with my panties in a bunch for weeks. I don't wear panties, sorry. With my drawers in a bunch for weeks. Because I'm blindsided by information that was wrong from the first place. So yes, Alibaba, we do need information, and we need it where it's not too split on both sides. That's just that's my thing. G Gotham, I appreciate the sub. Oh, my bad, Gotham. My bad, Gotham. I didn't see that. Prove the sperm count fact. I think it's a lie. Okay, let me go. I'm looking for Gotham's comments. My bad on that, G. My thing about that with the sperm count would be, again, this is my thing, right? Technology wise. How do we have the technology to go to the moon in the 60s, but we ain't been back? Whatever, right? Cool. But now we do have more technology. You don't have a camera and a cell phone and a beeper and all those other things. You have it all here. So it's a lot of technology being sent to the human body that wasn't there. I'll say it like this psychologically for the kids. The algorithm has messed up a lot of kids. That's why they started banning social media, right? If they find out that these phones are causing these problems with fertility, they're going to find a way to change this. It's between 5G, Wi-Fi, all, like if they're making all, I grew up on dial-up. I had to put *67 in and have a cord running through the house to get from one end to the house to the never. And *67 blocked anybody from calling in and kicking me off the internet, bro. So people used to call the house and they couldn't get online, but it was a different time because we didn't deal with these issues when we had dial-up. So now they made the internet faster, but through that technology, have they prepared for where we don't have kids you can't take care of? Don't you have kids you can't take care of? What? Don't have kids. Oh, I'm overreading. My bad. Oh, that makes sense. Kids stay home in front of the Game Boy all day. That's true. My wife is basically told we can't have kids in front of the iPad. My son will have the iPad in the car because sometimes I'm taking business calls. But for the most part, we try to limit the iPad and actually have him be active. And he's at a learning stage. His brain is a sponge. But yeah, you're right. Don't have kids if you can't take care of them. I think the if. Yeah, you missed the if in there, Melody. That kind of threw me off my reading. I'm like, yeah, something's missing here. But I got you. I appreciate you tapping in with your boy. You are entitled to an answer just because you subscribe. Bye, Felicia. Hey, man, that's not what it is. I mean, people asking, again, Westman, we've grown this channel. I had 300 subs randomly off long form content. I started live streaming. Now we're at over 1,300 subs. I'm not a professional streamer, but I realized something about my content and my conversation is holding people. There's about 200 of y'all here now. Appreciate you tapping in. And that's what it is. So it's not the fact of what I'm trying to do is professionally read through the chat, go through, read through, go through. So it's not about subbing and get a reply. It's about, oh, hey, he mentioned it, so let me go back. I didn't see your question. So Gotham, I appreciate you again subbing. I appreciate that. Watch some ice. But let me get back to RFK because I'm too focused on the chat today.
Put out.
Appreciate y'all, man.
Encouraging applications early this year.
Let's see what we just preview what we got going. Nothing major. We got Ruby on the other side.
Even though we reauthorized the BOLD Act and funding is available under the appropriations.
Oh, that reply was to Gotham. I got you.
Trump signed into law in March. How and when does HHS plan to issue this notice of funding opportunity so that we can continue what has been a very effective approach to the Healthy Brain Initiative and Centers of Excellence? It helps caregivers. It encourages early diagnosis. It really has been an important program, taking the kind of public health approach that you've generally supported.
Yeah, Senator, because of the TRO from the federal judge on this issue that was issued last week, I've been instructed by HHS and by White House attorneys that I can't speak directly to that part of the reorg. I have a strong personal commitment to, as I said before, to Alzheimer's, to dementia, and it's affected members of my family, and I understand.
No problem, Dan. Thank you, brother, for tapping in.
And whatever happens, we will continue that research.
Senator Baldwin.
Thank you, Chair Capito. Secretary Kennedy, very quickly, when I ask you for information or my staff asks your staff for information, do you commit to responding?
Yes, Senator, of course.
And when might I expect a detailed operational plan? I've referenced in my opening statement the fact that 530 programs or activities, when you provided that information, had an asterisk in place of a dollar amount. When might I expect the detailed plan? When?
As I explained to you, those decisions are being made by.
Appreciate you, El
You're really not
Serial.
in charge of the spend plan
This is not a HHS issue. It's a government-wide issue.
Okay, so the Secretary of HHS is not in charge of the spend plan for 2025. I'm going to move on. Research funded by the National Institutes of Health has pioneered the development of new technologies and cutting-edge treatments, including immunotherapies that are saving lives and giving millions of Americans suffering from devastating diseases more hope and more time with their families. Last week, American doctors made history with the world's first successful personalized gene editing treatment in a 9.5-month.
I got a response for that, Rick. Give me a while. Let me let them speak. I was talking for a while. I'm gonna let them. I'm gonna give it to you, man.
This technology is miraculous, and it was made possible by NIH research. According to the American Cancer Society, NIH-funded cancer research saved 3.5 million lives between 1991 and 2019 and reduced the overall cancer death rate by 33%. Congress has spent nearly 100 years building up the world's premier biomedical research agency to develop state-of-the-art treatments that wouldn't have been thinkable just decades ago. And in just 100 days, this administration is starting to tear it all down. NIH has awarded nearly $3 billion less in funding. So the graph on on my right, $3 billion less in funding compared to the same period last year. That's more than 3,200 fewer grants. These grants are being withheld. This
This chat wild, bro. Every day this chat be on.
cancer to Alzheimer's disease to rare disease research. Secretary Kennedy, whose decision is it to withhold thousands of grants and billions in funding for life-saving medical research at NIH?
I can tell you, Senator Baldwin, that gene therapy and cell therapy is a priority for me and for Marty McCary, who's the FDA director. We are going to ensure that this country remains the hub of gene therapy.
That wasn't
and
my
cell
question. Secretary Kennedy, whose decision is it to withhold thousands of grants and billions in funding for life-saving
That's real.
medical
Love or hate
research
Trump.
at NIH that we approved on a bipartisan basis in this subcommittee?
We are not abandoning any life-saving research at
Is it
NIH.
DOGE reviewing NIH funding opportunity announcements?
We have
Is it
cut-
DOGE reviewing NIH grant award?
Oh,
We've cut administrators, we're cutting waste, we're cutting duplicative
And you're,
programs. We
and you're
have
funding $3 billion less in biomedical research than you did a year prior.
we're spending less on administration of those programs.
3,200 fewer grants.
We're spending, well, many of the grants were terminated because they were grants that were not advancing.
These aren't grants terminated.
Senator.
These are grants not awarded because the panels weren't
Senator,
convened.
we spend 70% of the world's biomedical research out of NIH, 70%, and we're the sickest country in the world.
$18 billion or 40% from the NIH budget slow the development of new treatments and cures?
And we are the sickest country in the world. So that money has not been well spent. We've had a 38% increase in our agency, growth in our agency over the past 4 years.
I'll ask you, is funding for Alzheimer's disease research centers DEI? Because you're holding up $65 million for 14 of those centers in 9 states, including the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Is funding for cancer centers DEI? Because you're holding up $47 million in cancer center support
That's wild.
grants at 9 cancer centers in 8 states. Is funding for rare disease research DEI? Because you're holding up $55 million for 11 rare disease clinical research network grants in 8 states. These are just a few examples, and the list.
She
goes
going
on
in.
and
I'll
on,
give her that.
Secretary Kennedy. I've run out of time. I yield back.
now I'm gonna stop it there, and I won't hold you. The senator had a very long intro earlier, and then she came back. Let's switch over here. And then she came back. No, this ain't it. My bad. And she kind of clapped back. But to me, respectfully, RFK wasn't answering none of them questions. We're going to switch over to the House. They're having a meeting about their post-meeting
Mr.
with Trump.
Wonderful here. My friend Howard Marks is the co-founder
I'm
of
waiting for the skip ad to come
the
up.
gaming giant.
There we go.
An effortless
Mike
process.
Johnson. Let's hear what Mike Johnson has to say.
Doing this much in a bill this large and complicated and comprehensive, there's a lot of opinions in the room. We respect that in the Republican Party. We're people of deep principle and settled philosophy, and you're going to get differences of opinion when you work through these things. That's part of it. We welcome it. Nothing in Congress is ever easy, especially when you have small margins. But we are going to land this plane and deliver this. And we're proud what we've accomplished together. Every member of the conference can be proud of this legislation in the end. It's truly a nation-shaping piece of legislation. You heard some of the highlights here. Let me just give you a couple of things that haven't been mentioned yet or can't be mentioned enough. Some of the big conservative wins in the bill that are common sense wins for the American people. Putting Americans first. I love what Chairman Jordan said. This is really simple. We're delivering. We're doing what we said we were going to do. When you talk about putting Americans first, we're making the largest investment in border security in over a generation, providing nearly $150 billion to secure our border and deport illegal aliens. We are cracking down on illegal aliens receiving Medicaid, Medicare, SNAP, and tax benefits that are intended for the citizens of this country. We're shifting the cost of adjudication in the immigration system from the American taxpayer to the aliens themselves. And we're imposing a fee on remittance payments to foreign countries by illegal aliens. Second category, providing historic tax relief. We're going to eliminate taxes on tips and overtime and provide tax relief for seniors on Social Security. We're going to eliminate taxes on auto loan interest if that car is made in the U.S., lowering the cost of borrowing for America's farmers and providing tax relief for job creators. Another category, bringing back common sense. I mean, that's the continuing theme here that we all talk about. We're repealing and rolling back over $500 billion in funding for the radical Green New Deal policies from Biden's so-called Inflation Reduction Act. We call it the Inflation Act. We're ending Biden's war on American energy. We're banning Medicaid dollars from going to transgender surgeries for minors. We're canceling Biden's student loan repayment program. We're increasing university endowment tax for these big woke institutions. We're revoking tax exempt status for nonprofits that materially support terrorism. We're doubling the jail time for leaks of confidential taxpayer information. We're eliminating big businesses' ability to engage in woke PR campaigns to facilitate refundability for green energy projects.
Just went live on Instagram. Welcome to the ground.
At-will employees, and we're repealing Biden's disastrous EV mandate. The stakes couldn't be any higher. We could go on and on. It's over 1,000 pages. I could list all the wins, but we only have so much time. Despite the overwhelming popularity of so many of these provisions in this bill, the guys on the other side of the congressional Democrats have refused to engage with us in this process at all. They're not going to vote for anything that I just listed for you. And make no mistake about it. This week they're going to vote for. They're going to vote for the largest increase in taxes in American history. They're going to vote against border security, against American energy dominance, and against broadly popular policies such as work requirements to shore up Medicaid. President Trump's one big beautiful bill is going to require one big beautiful vote. And this is our shot. Best chance. This is our best chance that we'll ever have in our lifetimes, and any of us, in any of our lifetimes, to deliver on the mandate handed down by so many Americans. 77 million Americans voted for President Trump, more than that. And in fact, it's exactly what Republicans were sent to Washington to accomplish, as Chairman Jordan said. By passing this legislation, wages will increase as much as $11,600. Take-home pay for the typical American family with 2 kids will increase by $13,300 a year. As many as 4.2 million full-time equivalent jobs will be created because of this legislation. But if we fail, here's the alternative. Here's what the Democrats are going to vote for. Every American citizen seeing a 22% tax hike. 26 million businesses would see a tax increase of 43%. We'd lose nearly 6 million jobs in the economy and about $1 trillion in GDP by some estimates. The Border Patrol and ICE would lack the resources to detain and deport criminal illegal aliens, and 1.4 million illegals would continue to receive taxpayer funding of health care. Look, we could go on and on this morning about finishing the border wall and accomplishing all these things that we've talked about, but I'm going to just end it here and tell you that failure is simply not an option. We have to get this done. I told President Trump on the campaign trail that I believed he could be the most consequential president of the modern era and arguably maybe one of the most in all of U.S. history, maybe top 2 or 3. I think this is the way we deliver that. And by extension, that means that this Congress can be one of the most consequential in history. We do not take that lightly. And despite the challenges and the nonstop media criticism and the historically small House majority, we are right on track to deliver, and that's what you'll see this House do this week. Now, we're not going to take a lot of questions this morning because we've already done a ton of media with you in the halls. The President gave you a lot, we gave you a lot. What we're leaving to do right now is gather up the small subgroups in the House Republican Conference and tie up the remaining loose ends. I'm very confident that we'll be able to do that. There's a great esprit de corps in the room this morning because everybody knows what's at stake. All the things we've talked about here this morning, we are going to get this done. So this is a rare thing. I'm going to say hold the questions and let me go get back to work so we can finish this thing up, okay? Thanks for being here this morning. Thank you.
I ain't take no questions. That's wild, Mike. Now, the biggest thing I know people will see, if you just hopped on people on Instagram, we've been live on YouTube for like, how long now? 2 hours, y'all? About 38,000 people done came through the stream. About almost 400 of y'all here today, man. I appreciate y'all tapping in. Either way, there's a lot in this big, beautiful bill. Let me get to it, because, you know, hold on. People talk politics, right? But they don't want to read the statutes and the staff analysis. So this is a big, beautiful bill that President Trump and House Republicans are going through. And it's roughly, this version I have, roughly 389 pages. I believe this was one of the first drafts, but it has a lot of what is in the bill that people want to talk about. And to me, the narrative will get spun around tax cuts for the rich, but I'll be very honest. It's something Speaker Johnson said in there that the Democrats just not holding on to, and we just not being real about it. And again, my people on Instagram, they told me, I got to stop cussing. I got to stop saying the KNEE grow word so fluently online. I get it. So I'm going to do what I like to do. Be passionate about what you won't do. Go read the actual bill. So this is the one big, beautiful bill that Trump is talking about that the people, the poverty pimps are going to tell you about. I don't know. Nobody told me they had issue with the word poverty pimps. But if I got to change the word pimps, let me know in the comments or the DMs, right? For what it is. Because I'm going to say it because they're not going to read the actual bill or go through it with you. Now, I'll be real with you. There's an article that came in. I had it on the stream earlier. Let me pull it back up about Georgia housing, the Metro Atlanta. Let's get to it, right? And to me, it's never a fact of saying, all right, cool, Phil. Everybody got to go be a lobbyist. That ain't happening. Everybody got to go, you know, vote and be a Democrat or be a Republican. That ain't happening either. But what I am saying is this. I care about it because my grandfather's 96. He'll be impacted. Right? If they're making changes to tax cuts for businesses or whatever it may be, families, childcare. I have a toddler. I don't want to be blindsided by the nonsense. I could have said BS, but I didn't cuss. Y'all didn't want me to cuss because I don't want to be blindsided by the nonsense, y'all. So cool. There's a point of knowing what's in the statute or the staff analysis. And to my people out here who are writing Arabic, is that Arabic? No, it was just, I had a line in it. I couldn't read. I have some people who write Arabic in here earlier. I couldn't even translate it. It's okay though. But again, I have a personal thing where I feel that if it's not in the statute or the staff analysis, it really doesn't matter. Right. And this, I would recommend you read through. Now, two things I want to highlight for this part, because later tonight when I had the homies on the stream, I want to actually go through this a little more. Right. And put real life stuff to it. Now, you know, and I know that there are two gentlemen. Actually, let me be more consistent. This is the issue, right? In Atlanta, and this came in the group chat this morning. Let me straighten this up. Metro Atlanta has the highest rate of corporate home ownership in Georgia. A state researcher says, right? Let me fix this. Let's read this together. Let's highlight some of what's in this article, right? Corporate landlords are buying up more of the state's single family homes, and it's happening not just in Georgia, it's happening all over the country. Investors are buying up property left and right. Wall Street, right? So they're saying that U.S. Senator John Ossoff is leading an investigation into corporate ownership of rental properties. Now, here's the issue I have. When you get into the numbers, yes, they're buying homes. Nothing is in this tax bill that limits home ownership. Single home ownership for corporate people. It's actually, hold on, let me get to it. I have it labeled here somewhere. Hold on. What was the exact word? I had the wording. They told me to do my notes before I do the live stream. I said, okay, I'm gonna try to do my notes. All right. Low income. What's it called? The LIHTC housing credit. Oh, here it is, right in front of us, right? Let's go through the statute. For people that want to read the statute is amended to strike 2021 and insert 2021, 2026, 27, 28, 29, and a lot of people, what does this mean? What does this actually mean? The tax bond financing requirements. That's really the main purpose here. The special rule where minimum percent of buildings is financed with tax exempt bonds, 50%, or whatever. I'll be real with y'all. I don't feel like breaking down the statute or doing the research behind all of it. I'm gonna just go to my notes. Either way, this bill, I'll be real. I put it in AI. They doing it. Your staff, your lawyers, they all doing. Nobody's really reading it all the way through. So go take the bill and put it in AI and find out. Okay, what is in this bill that's gonna impact you? To me, when we talk about the housing crisis, the housing affordability, the ability for people to live the American dream, that could be curtailed by people who, realistically, are a corporation who own these homes. That means that you will forever be a renter. You will never gain equity in these properties. And it gets to a point of, like I said earlier, unless you hit stock options, GameStop, AMC take off again, and you planting your seeds there, you hit a couple parlays, you become a billionaire, you will not be able to catch up to what they're already doing from an inventory-wise standpoint. But the issue is there are no direct limitations for corporate home ownership in this entire bill. I would say that would be the biggest thing for the urban, black, person of color, low income, single family. Like, out of this tax bill, highlight the fact of this is going to make it easier for investors because we're not limiting investors' ability to buy stuff. And it's not just a relation in lobbyist talk here. It'll never just be in relation to black communities. Let's be real. You have to relate it to the people that you're trying to convince to change their vote. So you have to look at, okay, in the rural communities, Kansas, Kentucky, right? Arkansas, in the rural and urban areas, where is this happening? Who is buying up these properties? And when you relate it to the people in Paducah, Kentucky, for instance, and the corporations are coming to buy the housing there, hypothetically speaking, I haven't done the research there to call them out, make it relate to those people so that the cost of living is cheaper. But guess what? Even if the cost of living is cheaper, the people that are doing great blue collar work, they're coming in and they're not able to go up and become one with the American dream, I would say, to where they can actually achieve it. It's not to say have a 10-bedroom house on a plot of land with a lake. Some people just want 1,000 square feet that they can grow a family in and be happy. All right. How do we limit that? But there's nothing in this tax bill to prevent that. And I think that if this is an issue where people are looking at buying housing, being in affordable housing, whatever it is, there needs to be something there. However, housing, I think it was just housing. Was that one of the main things? Yeah, low-income housing modification tax credits. I think people need to pay attention to this. Because for the investor piece, okay, they're coming in, if they're getting taxed, and I believe this is primarily for new rentals, right? There's some of this taxes that'll really be for new rentals and not necessarily the single-family homes. However, there needs to be an ability to say, okay, cool, if you're going to give a tax break for them to build more low-income, affordable housing projects, right? And it could be mixed use. I said it earlier, and they have it in Atlanta. So I'll just, for my people in the A, you have a Publix at the bottom, and then you'll have 500 units above it. Everybody will be listed as a $3,500 a month rent minimum, whether you have a studio or a 3-bedroom in this 500-unit complex. However, in the affordable housing piece, as they're dealing this out, 50 to 80 of those units may be affordable housing to where those people are only paying $800 a month for that to rent there or live there, right? Cool, affordable housing. So that ends up being it. But from the investor standpoint, from the billionaires and millionaires, the corporates, they're looking at it as, okay, cool, we need a tax write-off for 10 or 11 years around this. So individually, they may be like, okay, cool, I'm giving you $11 million for this HUD property, this affordable housing community in Bowen Homes, in damn Riviera Beach, in Miami Gardens, in damn West Dallas, right? And we're going to give you this write-off so that you can write off this investment, so we can write off $250,000 a year for the next 10 to 20 years, and that's part of their investment. That's the reality behind the affordable housing game. So depending on which side of the aisle you're on, Republican or Democrat, it's really a fact of the policies they would pass for affordable housing are more for the investors that are investing in those multifamily duplexes, right? So if you're not looking for affordable housing and you want to live the American dream and say, okay, cool, I want to buy a home, there's a great chance you're buying it from a corporation. There's a great chance that they're going to buy it up. And it's not just them. Think about it. Open Door, Redfin are the corporations essentially, right? Open Door during the pandemic was offering people their house. You didn't have to have a realtor. So now even the realtor point, and I got to get some of my realtors on here, right? They've cut some of the fees down for the realtors, the commission off the lawsuits. And that's a whole other issue, not this stream, but it kind of plays in together, right? So now all these homes are owned by Redfin and Open Door and other Wall Street investors. And they basically not own Trump, but they own this tax bill, which would then say, okay, cool. How can we stop, again, cities like Metro Atlanta? Let me try to get this right. Cities like Metro Atlanta dealing with this corporate home ownership issue. And then we get to a point of saying, all right, cool. How can anyone live the American and not just moving to rural America? Because guess what? Rural America is getting investments too in this tax bill, right? And it's getting investments under, where is it? Wait. Opportunity zones. A new round of qualified opportunity zone designations. Now, I'm a big fan of Nipsey Hussle. There were times when I was riding from Palm Beach to Tallahassee for session, and I wasn't going week to week. I was going 3 months at a time then, right? There's a time when people were talking about opportunity zones. And I'm gonna pull a video up here, right? And the issue ends up being we have these conversations about buy back the block. Like buy back the block. And when these policies get put in place to buy back the block, we're not there. Or we find out after the fact when Nipsey Hussle, T.I., I know Queen Latifah, I believe my man Rick Ross did as well, use the opportunity zones to benefit them and say, okay, what is it? It's a way to basically get federal money that invests in the economic development uplift of a community. So let's actually go through this. There's a new round of qualified opportunity zone designations. It's amended. I know what part I want to get to. It's in a low income community. Designated by the state, the secretary, all the other good stuff. Subsection may not, 25% of the qualified opportunity zones of which following. All right, cool. I want to get to the money piece because people they're not worried about all this political jargon, even though it's in the statute, right? Rural area, whether a low income community is compromised entirely of rural areas, shall be determined by the secretary in consultation with the Secretary of Agriculture. So that basically means that they're going to determine where essentially these economic zones are designated rural for the urban rural investment piece, right? That's cool. I want to get to the money because the money piece, I know I seen it in here. It's like $100 million over 10 years. That's what I'm trying to get to. Just to show you all the money piece. Where's my $100 million? Oh, don't worry. We'll get it on the next stream. But to the main point, the opportunity zones are something that Black Americans have slowly found out about. And I want to yield to this T.I. video to kind of explain it a little better and more for what it is.
David Gross and Clifford T.I. Harris.
So we can get a better glimpse of it, better understanding, if anything.
Right? At the Forbes Opportunity Zone Summit in Newark, New Jersey, to talk a little bit more about our opportunity.
Oh, wait. I realized I have a mistake here. Rookie mistake. There we go.
Nipsey Hussle put together to take what they had been doing in South Central Los Angeles and bring it to other parts of the country and communities like it.
Our opportunity was actually a natural evolution of a prior concept we started. We launched an inner-city-based co-working space called Vector 90, the very grassroots small business and entrepreneurial incubator. We learned of the Opportunity Zone legislation at the end of 2017. It was just a natural growth because...
Now you heard it. They learned of the Opportunity Zones in the 2017 legislation. This was 5 years ago, so that would date this around 2020. Right? So they were at least 3 years in to using opportunity zones to do what they needed to do. So when we're talking about buying back the block, and I should have highlighted my points in that bill to exactly where it was. Right? Cool. And better understand it. We'll get there on the next one, regardless. there's a point of understanding that there are people in the hip hop culture, in the urban culture, who will benefit off Republican, MAGA, GOP, all Republicans racist policies, right? But the key thing the brother said was they paid attention to the legislation and they saw what was coming down and they prepared themselves for what was coming down instead of, respectfully, putting a fear tactic into say, hey, they're gonna come in and give people money to come buy up the block and buy up our old historic communities. No, they saw the advantage in the legislation. That's why I'm saying my MAGA movies piece about Will Packer, right? In this conversation, we can honestly say, okay, cool. This opportunity zone happened through the legislation that was passed by Republicans. Cool. Bomb. We benefit. We're not being transparent in the fact of every Republican policy isn't bad. Every Democratic policy isn't good. Remember, I tell people, it's always good. The Democratic piece, and no offense to anybody, it's all good till your daughter get dunked on when it comes to sports, right? When it comes to all these initiatives, they want you to care about it. But if you have 3 girls and they're out here hooping and the young man switched over, put his wig on and dunked on your little girl, you're going to change your entire perspective on what Democrats are talking about. So every Democratic policy is not good. Every Republican policy is not racist. Every Republican policy is not MAGA. Sometimes, like my brother said, sometimes you need to read the legislation and see the benefits of it. And a part of it, again, is, especially to my FAMU folks, I honestly don't care, right? But I know that even if I was wrong in going to the due diligence of the bill and having that, having the right section, I at least know where to go to read the impact of what's happening. Some of y'all just going from the barbershop to outside and saying the same nonsense, and you got to go home and take your blood pressure medication because you done got yourself worked up. Go read the bill and then think to yourself critically to say, oh, that's almost cussed. I told myself I'm trying not to cuss on the live stream and told me the message is better if I don't cuss. Well, guess what? I'm going to hit the thesaurus, okay? Because I'm not going to use the KNEE grow words anymore, and I'm trying not to cuss to make it more intellectual for us. Yeah, your boy dropping bars. I could have been a rapper. And it's a straight live stream, so really it's off the dome. But to a point, we've got to get to a point where we get out of our emotions and we get into what's actually going to benefit our people out of the policies they pass. Or, because benefiting our people is sometimes protecting them from the realities and not the fear factors, not the tactics to get their heart pressure like boiling, blood pressure boiling. It's to say, all right, cool, bro, here's what's really happening. Because the same people who will tell you they're dismantling HBCUs will still sit at the table to go negotiate the benefits of the policy so they can give back to their community. Come on, man, that's what I'm saying. You can't believe the nonsense sometimes. You can't believe the nonsense and be sitting around here upset about nonsense all the time, especially my young black people in the culture who aren't politically engaged. Remember, if you're just here, I know we just went live on Instagram and we just went live on TikTok and with other places like Twitch and YouTube and other places. We got about 300 people here. That's okay. Guess what? There are 23 million people in the state of Florida. There are less than 2,000 professional lobbyists that work at the state and executive level of government in the state of Florida. There are only less than 60 of us that are black. There are less than 60 black professional lobbyists in the state of Florida, the third largest state in the country. So if I'm giving a perspective, my perspective politically, I'm giving it from somebody who's put a constitutional amendment on the ballot. I'm giving it from someone who's elected members to Congress. I'm giving it from someone who's actually been successful in this process, passing laws. And again, the same time they were banning African-American history in Florida, I was getting money for black kids for suicide prevention reading programs and making sure that they don't end up in the hood. Now, I just want to, or in prison, F it. But I didn't cuss. F it is not a cuss word. I just want people to know that all the emotions that you have don't mean nothing if you're not paying attention. But let's get back to the TI piece about these opportunity zones, because that's relation. Then we're going to go back into the Diddy trial because the House Republicans didn't say much. And Marco Rubio's testimony, I want to get into some of Marco Rubio's testimony, see what the DHS secretary is talking about, and also make sure y'all like and subscribe to the channel, man. So let me check the chat. I'm going to get back into this. I'm going to read through some of the chat, catch up on where y'all at. And keep riding, man. I'm gonna keep going this stream for a little while. I gotta eat lunch in a while, but we're gonna make it happen. Appreciate y'all tapping in,
When
man.
we were starting, we always wanted to replicate and scale. So this legislation, when we learned about it, we were like, that's the thing we've needed to expedite growing this and building it out.
The goal behind the bipartisan Opportunity Zone legislation was really to spur investment in communities that might not otherwise get investment. Part of that, coming from really strong tax incentives, and the idea being that you could roll over capital gains from, other enterprises and put it into an Opportunity Zone where it could grow tax-free.
Hip hop before the last decade or so, it was much like we were when we were teenagers. Young, only looking to have fun. But as hip-hop matured, it became more knowledgeable of its ability to spread wealth and generate opportunity.
What T.I. is saying is true. I got a client calling me. Hold on. Hey, Shlomo, can I call you back in 10 minutes? At 2 o'clock today. Yes, with the mayor. I don't think it's 12, but give me a couple minutes. I'll call you right back. All right. Let me check the calendar. Make sure we ain't have a 12 o'clock, bro. But we need to talk about something else. See, that's the service you get when you call me, even though I'm on stream. One ring, you're gonna get an answer. Because guess what? We have a major deal coming. We have a major deal on the way. And I can't tell you nothing about it, but guess what? That's the kind of customer service you get at the lobbyists, with the lobbyists like me. So make sure you like and subscribe to anything. But to the point, they saw the legislation, they talked about the capital gains and how you're able to roll these over, right? These are the conversations that we need to be having more in the community to say, okay, cool. If this Opportunity Zone legislation is coming through this tax bill that Trump is pushing, right? Cool. How can we prepare ourselves and understand what's coming? And I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying be informed. Because the biggest thing of it is, I'll be real, I've been called a Trumper, a Republican, Uncle Tom. Half y'all never read the book Uncle Tom. There's the audio book on Apple Books right now. You can go listen to it about 16 hours. Listen to the book Uncle Tom before you can call me that again. That's okay. Either way, I'm dropping bars today. Regardless of it, we have to be informed. Information is there. They say black people don't read. The KNEE grows don't read. Cool. Let's get out of our feelings and emotions about nonsense and let's actually read what's out there that's coming down the pipe, right? But let's get through this. I'm gonna get back to my congressional hearings and some other stuff while we're on the stream today. And I got some business to handle.
Opportunities because we gained the knowledge and information to develop corporate structure as David is implementing. We have opportunities to have insight on certain things that we're able to use to benefit the growth of the community.
The Opportunity Zone legislation enabled a lot of investment in depressed communities, but what Dave Gross and Nipsey Hussle wanted to do is sort of buy back the block. That's their translation of what could happen if you took this legislation and you connected hometown heroes like Nipsey Hussle and enabled them to have the ownership over these communities as opposed to other people who have no connection.
I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit, and meeting Nip, speaking to Nip, it was refreshing to be able to have a discussion with someone who actually understood the value of what we were setting out to do. It seemed as though he got it instantaneously, and that was just refreshing.
Nip, Tip, Rick Ross, these are people who've been very vocal, visible examples of inner city entrepreneurs who are all about ownership. And so I looked at that and I was like, damn, people are really into buy back the block. They like that. As much as they like the stunning and the flashing and the spending on cars and jewelry, they love it when they see a rapper or an athlete or someone from our community own a business, invest in property. And more people would do it if there were implementable tools, resources, information, education that was kind of turnkey. So
That's what I'm saying. If the information is known about ahead of time, if these opportunity zones, now to be real, is $100 billion over 10 years, $10 billion a year. That's the investment in these opportunity zones. To me, it's being informed about what's coming down the pipe. So if it's 2026, 2027, you have at least a runway to prepare. That's really what happens. Let me tell you the real. What happens is the government will go set their budget. Federal government, state government, local budget. They set their budget. Some people have individual items in the line. Then you have grants and programs and all these things that are improviso in the language of a budget or in a markup. And essentially it tells government and the agencies what to do. If you're able to read and interpret and you understand exactly what's happening, you can better prepare yourself to get that. Now, I know, again, everybody's not a lobbyist. Not everybody's going to be able to read, interpret, and understand laws. And even me going through the markup for the one big beautiful bill, it's not as clear as it should be. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have to dissect it and go back through it for what it is. However, you have to be involved because people love seeing people reinvest. But then if you understand the benefits and the policies that benefit you, then you use them, right? And that's what I'm saying again about people who like to stir the pot. And I think that's the people got misconstrued in the narrative, right? It's different. Somebody told me, a couple people told me, not just one, that your personal and business decisions are different. Well, if you personally are going liberal and personally calling everything Republican racist, but then you're using behind closed doors the same Republican policies, and you talk to your attorneys and your accountant and say, hey, let's use these policies they just passed to benefit our business, then you fake it and fake to me. At least I'll be real, the Republicans will be like, hey, I may disagree with some of the stuff Trump does that he says, but his policies agree with me personally and for my business. What black folks like to do is separate their business from their personal as if they're not voting for one, right? Let's be real. If you look at it, most black people are probably more conservative than they realize, but they don't want to admit it. However, it is what it is. Let's get back to this.
I took Buy Back the Block, and we're buttoning it up, making it corporate, providing a structure, and distilling it into information that hopefully anybody from our communities can take and do something with it.
We have to create opportunities and platforms and things that will generate more wealth and opportunity into our communities that have been blighted and underserved for so long. We have to take that opportunity and redistribute it to the people who deserve it and need it the most.
So that was basically that part. Hold on, let me try to switch over. Where we at? Not the Republicans. Let's get back to RFK for a second.
Thank you.
I'm gonna update this because they're a ways in.
Receiving NIH. Out of that, $1,684,000,000 went to indirect cost.
I'm gonna get to the chat in a second. I appreciate y'all tapping in.
Now, I'm sure there's no room to cut NIH research, right?
There's room to cut the research both through the indirect cost, which the total cost was $9 billion last year in indirect research. So that's $9 billion that did not go to research, but also
$9 billion that went to other things like flowers at the university.
Right, and the way we don't know what it goes to. And the way it
versus
works is if we give $1 million grant and there's a 60% indirect cost, that means they get to keep the $1 million grant, but we have to give them another $600,000 for their indirect costs. So that's the way it works. And the private universities that have the big endowments, like you were referring to, they're the ones that get the most inflated numbers. Let me just say this: we have 9 separate offices for women's health. We have 8 separate offices for minority health. We have 20 separate HIV programs. We have 59 separate behavioral programs. We have 40 separate opioid programs. We have 42 maternal health programs. Each one of them have their own administrators. We have 100 communications offices when I came in. We have 41 chief.
Say 100 communication offices?
Yes, 100, and we have 1,400 external affair officers, staff. We have 40 procurement departments using 4 different contracting systems. We have 9 resource officers, dozens of IT departments, and 8 senior finance officials. And what we're trying to do is eliminate the redundancy. There's no way to govern this agency. This agency has a budget that is comparable to the 6th largest nation in the world. And we have
I have no idea, Mike. Appreciate my dog Mike tapping
They're all
in.
in silos with their own infrastructure, and we're trying to consolidate them, and that's why they don't work. That's why we throw more and more money every year, and Americans are the sickest people in the world. We spend 2 to 3 times for healthcare what other nations spend, and we have the worst outcomes on earth. And if somebody does not reorganize this mess, it is going to continue. And we're trying to do it, and we're going to make some mistakes as we do it. But ultimately, I can tell you 4 years from now, the American people are going to be a lot healthier.
You know, only in American government do we think throwing money at the problem will eventually fix it. So thank you for staying strong and actually.
Congressman got a stress ball in his hand. Isn't that Buddy that's his congressman who threatened Buddy in that committee that time was about to fight him. Brother look militant every time I see him, for real.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Who is, man?
I want to follow up on NIH and that conversation that you just had. I think every cent of hard-earned taxpayer dollars should be used responsibly, should be used efficiently, judiciously, and we have to be accountable. And I appreciate you taking that approach to every portion of the areas in which you oversee. You mentioned, Senator Mullen obviously mentioned several of the people that we feel like are not utilizing this right and are taking advantage of the system. I want to say thank you for your comments last week at the HELP Committee, where you specifically pointed out the University of Alabama and the system, University of Alabama at Birmingham.
You weren't here, I pointed it out again.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. You know, as people trying to do it right, trying to make sure that we can create life-saving and life-changing research that positively impacts the lives of not only Alabamians, but Americans and people across the globe. And I just want to thank you for the engagement that we have had on that issue, the continued dialogue we've had, so that we can work to try to get it right. And so just wanted your commitment to continuing that conversation as we work to make sure that we use hard-earned taxpayer dollars wisely and efficiently, and we also make sure that we have life-saving and life-changing research that continues.
Yes, Senator, and based upon some of our conversations and conversations that I've continued to have, expressing your concerns, particularly for the state schools that do not have endowments and that really need lab support and need gloves and test tubes and mass spectrometers and all of the things that you need to do to do first-class science. We want to be paying for that.
Good. Thank you so much.
And we figured out devices in which we can do that, but not through the indirect cost mechanism.
Well, thank you so much. I look forward to continuing that conversation with you. I also want to thank you as a mom. So out of all of the different secretaries that we voted on and confirmed, I think my friends were most excited about you because they thought for once they had someone that was willing to take on, you know, whether it's big companies or big tech in the name of health for their children. When it comes to social media, that's something as a mom of a 15 and a 16-year-old that I get to see the effects of firsthand, not just in my own home, but with my friends and things that are happening in the community. I wanted to talk with you a little bit about that. We've seen the rate of depression amongst young people more than double. We've seen one.
I'm actually reading. I'm not even listening now, for real. I'm reading some of this. I'm trying to switch over to the Diddy trial, right? And I'm reading some of the testimony. They say Cassie Ventura's mom. I'm going to switch this over. Cassie Ventura's mom is testifying. I'm just leave the chat up. Because, of course, no cameras, no audio recordings inside the camera. Only thing we get, check Morgan out. The only thing we get is like text messages and post meeting requests. So we're going to leave this up while I go through the chat. Because y'all been talking it up in the chat on YouTube today. Everybody on Instagram, listen, I may not stream on Instagram again because IG just doesn't do numbers like the rest of these platforms. You feel me? Actually, I'm gonna just cut IG off now. It's okay. Y'all get the reels or whatever it is after the fact. I'm in the live on IG. Not just post it now. They don't need to see it. They can come over to YouTube, man. That's it. God, we not going live on Instagram no more. TikTok may not get it either because TikTok's been straddling the stream. My man Sam here, Julian G. What's up, baby? Appreciate the love, Sam. Man, Sam Niemeyer doing what he has to do. I'm trying to get to a better link, y'all. I'm not trying to keep y'all reading here. I'm trying to get to a solid Diddy update on top of everything else that's happening in the world. I guess I do need some staff to help me get to a point of, how do we organize the stream so we're consistently flowing between topics? And we're not jumping all over the place and losing people here and there. Like, that's what I want to know. Like, what do I have to do? Do y'all have any suggestions, chat? I think I found a good stream, y'all. No, I don't think this is a good one. I don't think that's a good one, though. Let me go to Fox News. See what Fox News has to say. I'm not going to Fox News because, I'm a non-Republican or what. It's just, they have a good quality stream once they get past this commercial. So we're going to leave it here till they get past this commercial. And then I'm going to go back to Law and Crime to get some more because I miss a lot of all these escorts faces getting released, which is kind of dangerous to me. Like, it's wild. Let's see what they're talking about here, though.
To the issue of, was I forced to engage in a sex act? And now, of course, was that a sex act for purposes of sex?
I gotta get to this chat. I'm getting people atting me. Hold on.
That would be direct evidence. Now, we have something called circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial
I've been talking a lot.
Where I didn't see something, I didn't hear something, I don't have direct evidence.
Keep playing it by ear. I appreciate that, Outlaw. I appreciate the feedback. Thank you for that, brother.
What we can do is we can take
Aloha Kitty, welcome back.
And then we can start linking other facts to get to the conclusion that we want, which is, again, the criminal.
Yeah, okay, the lies keep lagging.
Classic example that a judge gives in explaining to a jury the difference between direct evidence and circumstantial evidence.
I think it's an issue with OBS, bro, because it's on excellent quality on YouTube, but I don't know why. But I think that's probably the reason why I cut it off. Let me get back to the rest of this. Let me cut Buddy down. We ain't even trying to. We'll get to a better Diddy update later. Let me try to read through the chat for a second, y'all. RFK's voice grates like chalk scratching the board. Hilarious. I saw swim where you can. Yeah, when we're divided, it makes it hard for us to actually come together and help Americans equally. Very true, something memes. Yeah, I think the division is really, the division is what drives both parties. And it's sad. He canceled cancer research, then he should keep his mouth shut while swimming in contaminated rivers. We're too divided, just how they want us to be.
That's what the government is trying to do, in my opinion, here by bringing in this.
I love the chat on. No nonsense. I'm gonna go back to Kennedy because this is Diddy trial, ain't it? All right. I'm gonna go back to Kennedy. The wife calling. Hold on, so I'm gonna have to mute this.
Because I'm not going to get my record deal if I don't do it. It isn't necessarily direct evidence of, and again, let's be clear here. The most important charge for the government, the most frightening charge for Mr. Combs is the sex trafficking charge, which is that he forced or coerced or engaged in fraudulent activity to get other people to engage in commercial sex acts.
So, Randy, I want to ask you this. So we just got an update from court. Obviously, no cameras allowed inside, but it says that Cassie's mom, Regina Ventura, testified that Combs demanded $20,000 from the family back in 2011. They were shown, the jury was shown an email, this says, from Cassie to her mother.
Sorry about that, yo. I needed to fix that, but my wife was calling me.
The email also
And I've learned.
Someone hurt her and rapper Kid Cudi, who she was seeing.
Hold on. I got two things playing in the back.
When we take a look at that, and then it goes on to say that the mom claims that they took a home equity loan to pay off Diddy.
My bad on that. If y'all were hearing two audios.
And
there we go.
This
Completely. So sorry about that, y'all.
How do we get that research done, particularly with Western mining? And this is one in which clearly the president wants us to focus with creating a supply chain.
Mute them for a second. Yeah, the wife called. I got to take out some ground turkey for dinner. We have tacos tonight. Taco Tuesday. So that's there. But I've learned. Shout out to my great mentor, Wendell Page. Rest in peace, my man. anytime your wife calls, you got to answer. And there have been some times where I've not wanted to answer. Because sometimes women will call you with nonsense. And guess what? She ain't coming with no nonsense today. But let's get back to RFK. I've been dropping bars today.
The mine up in Deadwood and Leeds, South Dakota. I've been myself to the bottom of that mine many times. I understand the health concerns and how brave you have to be to undertake that kind of work. We need to protect our miners. We need to protect them because they are the future of our country.
You would work with us to find a path
I want to
forward.
work with you on that, and I hope you'll contact my office.
Absolutely, Mr. Secretary, be happy to, and just wanted to bring it up because this is one that we need to get fixed. So I appreciate your looking into it.
I'm going to fix this screen up real quick, y'all.
NIH has invested nearly $1 trillion into U.S. biomedical research. In 2021, the Biden administration updated NIH's data management and sharing policy.
It had a logo on there, feel me? Branding.
And accessibility. Yet much of the research data remains siloed, inaccessible, or trapped in outdated formats, making it difficult and costly for innovators to use. This limits the impact of taxpayer-funded discoveries. To address this, I've sponsored the GUIDE Act with Senator Heinrich to modernize federal data systems, making sure that they are AI-ready and accessible for responsible innovation.
Tammy, I got you.
Secretary
Tammy, I will.
What are the main barriers, technical or institutional, preventing NIH from creating clean, modern, accessible data sets that drive discovery and innovation?
One of the most exciting things that I'm most excited about in running this agency is the opportunity, the unique opportunity we have now to update those computer systems to crush down those silos, which we are doing. And a lot of that is just bureaucratic inertia. And what we found is a lot of, I actually learned that in order to get access to CMS data for another one of my agencies that wanted to study that data for healthcare purposes, we had to buy it from another agency there. So they're hoarding the data and they're selling it. It makes no sense. And we are bashing down all of those barriers. And we're going to digitalize our data. We're going to depersonalize it. We're going to put it on AI, and we're going to make it public through data sharing agreements that allow people.
Who is Melody talking to?
Access it and take advantage of it.
Let me throw you one.
And I look forward to that legislation because I want to say this. We have been able to recruit the top minds in Silicon Valley to come into the agency, people who've walked away from billion-dollar corporations, not because they want prestige or they want position. They are there because they want to transform the agency by making it AI friendly. I spent yesterday all day talking with the innovators from private industry about how to get them that kind of data. So it's a huge priority for me, and I look forward to working with you on it.
Mr. Secretary, thank you. And my time has expired, but I've, with permission of the chair, I need to offer one softball question for you.
Softball.
Of biomedical research in coordination with AI in terms of speeding up the processing and so forth tells us that we can make discoveries and cures for some of the main dread diseases that afflict mankind today. And we can do it within a very short period of time period, which not only would save federal
That's crazy
in terms of long-term treatment, but also improve the quality of life for millions of Americans and families throughout the world. Would you agree that the combination of biomedical research with artificial intelligence accelerating that discovery process could very well improve the quality of life for millions of Americans?
It's already happening at FDA. And, I had a conversation with Marty McCary last week, or even the initial introductions that we're making with AI have already quickened the clinical trial process. So, I can't even imagine the kind of opportunities that we're going to get from this, from transitioning to AI and marrying that with biomedical research.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Senator Merkley.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and good to see you, Mr. Secretary. And
that's kind of boring. Who else is coming up, man?
A topic that I think you and I may have similar thoughts on, perhaps the President has similar thoughts on, and that is real concern about the high cost of medicines in the United States of America. back in October of 2018, President Trump, in his first term, noted that it's not acceptable that Americans are.
I'm actually going to switch over, not to the Diddy trial. Senator Rubio testifying in committee. Once we get past this ad from Monday.
I'm so glad you said that. So for me, and that will bring us to balance, is lying to you. So with that, I'm just going to move on to my questions. Thank you. And I'm going to talk about international women's issues because during your time as senator, you were a champion of international women's issues. You helped introduce bills that would have codified the Department's Office of Global Women's Issues and Women's Global Development Prosperity Initiative. You supported several bills, including Senator Shaheen's bipartisan Women, Peace, and Security Act. During your confirmation hearing, you committed to me that you would support women's economic empowerment abroad. And at this year's International Women Courage Award, you waxed poetically about the administration's support for women abroad. So help me understand how to square your past with your present. You're proposing the full elimination of the Office of Global Women's Issues. You've terminated hundreds of programs that help women and girls. You provided no guidance to the department on whether they should continue to implement the Women, Peace, and Security Act, and I'm still waiting to see your support for women's economic empowerment overseas. How can you dismiss the concerns of women around the world? Do you believe that the data shows that women's economic participation includes greater economic development worldwide and that women's participation in peace negotiations guarantees longer outcomes? And I have a few questions, so I would respectfully ask for a yes or no. Don't you think that women's participation is important and allows for better outcomes?
This is not a game show. I'm not going to ask that with a yes or no. That's an important question.
Oh.
And I can answer it. We're not abandoning women's issues.
So do you believe the Office of Global Women's Issues should be eliminated?
Oh, there we go.
One thing is to eliminate an office. Another thing is to eliminate the function. The function will still exist. It'll be driven at the regional bureaus. So every one of our regions will have someone who's looking at and driving that issue, and right down to the embassy. It remains a priority. The same with the law that you outlined that I supported. This is going to be executed on, but it's going to be executed at the regional level and at the embassy level. And the reason why is because the challenges facing women in Africa are different than the challenges facing women in Central America,
and
which
I
are
have
different
your commitment that you're going to support women around the world, because without the women being able to be successful in their countries, I believe we can't have peace, stability, and our countries move forward.
Sure, and it remains part of our agenda. It's just going to be, the service is still going to be delivered, but it's going to be delivered at the regional and embassy level, not through a standalone office in Washington, D.C.
When will we see the reports on this and how this will be delivered?
Well, this is what we're engaged in with this committee now, which is our reorganization process. We've made an initial presentation to the committees. It's not final. We've received input through the comment period, including from our own building, but also from members of Congress on both sides, and meaning House and Senate. Now we'll come back to you based on all of that input on what we propose to be the final reorganization.
Do you have a timeline when you'll come back? Because I don't want to see women left behind around the world, and I think you'd agree with me. But I'm going to turn on to Israel. If you can give us a timeline of when you're proposing to do this.
Senator Rosen ain't messing off today on Marco, man. We came in at the right time.
And we maybe come back.
Came in at a good time, chat.
Mr. Chairman. Do you have a timeline of when?
Sure, we're engaged now. I think we'll owe you a congressional notification here within the next few weeks, which is but all of that is being built on the comment period.
Outlaw. Hey, hold on.
And members of this committee, as well as in the House.
Thank you. Can I move on to Israel for a second? So the Office of Security Coordinator in Israel,
Outlaw in line,
was established by President Bush in 2005. The OC is widely respected, including by the IDF Central Command, for facilitating security coordination between the Palestinian Authority and the Israeli security forces, which has been crucial in preventing terrorist attacks against Israelis. However, it's reported that you plan, again, to eliminate OSC, which I believe, and many others, could lead to further destabilization in the West Bank and threaten Israel's security. So, Mr. Secretary, should the U.S. continue playing a role in facilitating successful security coordination between IDF and Palestinian security forces to safeguard Israeli lives? And if so, do you believe the State Department should continue to maintain the OSC and support it financially?
Yeah, there's news reports every day about things that aren't true. So the only thing that's been discussed about OSC is whether it should be brought under the authority of the...
Hey, Outlaw's going at it in the chat. I think I don't know who's going at it in the chat right now. Outlaw, Tammy. I'm reading through. I'm trying to see how we even got here. Somebody said Trump don't care about you and Outlaw been snapping. I really caught on when somebody said, oh, what did I see in the chat? Damn it. I can't remember. Welcome to the stream, y'all.
No borders.
Outlaw
So small
spitter
investments in
facts.
the U.S. can save American lives by stopping outbreaks really before they reach our shores. You were previously a champion of global vaccines, twice leading resolutions in support of continued U.S. investments in these programs. So, Mr. Secretary, again, do you consider vaccines, including for malaria, Ebola, to be life-saving? Given GAVI's proven track record of saving lives, preventing global disease outbreaks that could reach our borders, will you commit to prioritizing continued U.S. support for GAVI?
But we haven't canceled U.S. support for malaria or any of these other communicable diseases and or vaccines. What we have, there are some individual programs that may have been canceled because they weren't being delivered in the appropriate way. All of these functions will continue. The difference now is the function will be happening under the Department of State as opposed to a set-alone entity, which you had very little oversight over, by the way, in this committee, even though we tried in the years that I was on it with USAID. And I don't want to, I may respond to one point you made just because I'm curious. We have not abandoned Saudi normalization with Israel, as you pointed. The Saudis are the ones that have expressed their inability to move forward on it so long as the conflict is happening in Gaza. But we would love to see normalization.
You know, when it comes to the Saudis and normalization, and we can have this as I'd be so happy to have you in my office or come to your office and talk about this. It was quite apparent on the last trip that the president was more interested in making business deals and trying to move forward peace in the region. It's not just about the business deal. There's a lot going on, and there is pressure to bear. But we did receive a list, I just want to say for the record, that showed GAVI was terminated. And so if you could send us something to show that it's turned back on, we'd be glad to see that. I know I'm over my time.
Senator Scott.
All right. Secretary Rubio, first off, I'm proud to have voted for you. I wish you were in the Senate.
My man, Rick Scott.
I'm proud that you're Secretary of State, and I can tell you, Floridians are very proud of you. As you know, Miami-Dade, finally, for the first time in history, is now more Republican than Democrat. I'm sure they looked at you and saw all the success you've had, so one of the reasons it happened. Can you talk about what you're trying to accomplish with your reorganization and how that's going to improve national security?
Well, ultimately, the goal of reorganization is to
wait,
make
hold
the
on.
Put State Department.
I got to stop Rubio for a second, y'all. We just hit another milestone, chat. Hold on, I got to share. I told somebody I got to share them the link first. Hold on. Let me share the link. We got another milestone, chat. I'm going to give it to you in 2 seconds. Hold on. Because I got to thank y'all. I never thought we would be here this quick, right? I didn't really think we would be here this quick, y'all. I'll make sure y'all can see it. We had 1,500 subscribers. Listen. Thank you for tapping in with your boy, helping us grow this community again. I was excited 3.5, 4 weeks ago when we hit like 300. Right? I'm gonna get a new chair. I know the chair is rickety rackety. I put the WD-40 on it. It ain't working. It's okay. All right. We started off with 300 subs, and something told me, bruh, stream vertically on YouTube, right? And maybe on YouTube, I'll be able to reach more people. They on their phone. They'll see the stream. Because, you do the normal desktop stream. It don't show nobody, right? And we've grown organically, naturally over 3 weeks to 1,500 subs, join the YouTube partner program, and have this page fully monetized. And I honestly want to say to my FAMU people who help watch my videos and push me over the top, thank y'all. Even though you're mad at me, I love y'all. I love the family. All right. But to everybody else in this community who's been here with your boy when I've been cussing, dropping N-words and everything else, thank y'all for tapping in. Because we've grown organically from 300 to 15. And I put it in Perplexity. I put it in my GPT. I said, hey, man, look at all this growth I'm having. What does it mean? It means that people are connecting with you in your format and they effing with you, bro. So guess what? I appreciate y'all effing with me and following the channel, following the page. Because y'all know, again, my goal was to say, okay, we had 350. We're going to get to 450 at the end of May, 500-600 by the end of July, going into August. Maybe hit 1,000 at the end of the year. And it's jumped. So, because I was going to practice my streams and get better and better. In the past 3 weeks, we've got a lot more people here. So I got to get better and better quicker to hold y'all here. But while the ones that have been here, we're getting donations. We've been getting some ad revenue. We've been having people tap in from all over the country. I want to thank you for just being you and appreciating and supporting your boys' channel as we build out this community, man. Thank you. Let me get back to Rubio.
At the center of our foreign policy, which people will look at and say, well, how, isn't that what it's always been? But it actually had lost that role. And one of the reasons why it had lost its role is inability to deliver quickly. In essence, the inability to deliver quickly on whatever policymakers determined they wanted him to do, and there were structural reasons for that and the like. The other thing is that we are now in an era that requires, I think every era has required this, but now more than ever, a foreign policy that's cohesive, where all the elements of national power, including soft power, which has been talked about here today with foreign aid, but also the hard work of diplomacy, of understanding that sometimes when you're dealing with another nation state, they're not going to behave the way you would want your country to behave, but it's in our national interest to have a relationship with them and be able to influence discrete decisions that they make on one topic or another. And all of this has to be coordinated, and that wasn't happening. We had functional bureaus that were basically in charge of some human rights issue, and then we had an embassy. And oftentimes when you would travel abroad, you would find that our embassy and or our regional bureau and our functional bureau were at odds with one another, because the functional bureau was pushing one agenda, the embassy was pushing another, and this was also true with USAID. By the way, this idea that USAID got along well with the State Department is false. And embassy after embassy, during my time in oversight, you would hear complaints about how USAID was funding programs that State Department had no insight into and in many ways contradicted what the State Department was driving at the embassy level. So what we're asking for now through this reorganization is to bring it all under one roof so that we can conduct foreign policy at the regional and local level in a way that's cohesive.
Shout out to my girl Breon, man.
And can deliver results. But it's also where you're going to get
Tapping
the best ideas from. I read cables from our missions around the world every single day. Some of the most important information that I get as Secretary of State is not from intelligence reports, it's not from news articles, it's not from briefings from somebody. It is from a cable that comes directly from that embassy that is identifying a problem and or an opportunity that I may not hear about for months if it ever makes its way through the system. So we want to empower that, because that's our front lines. These are the people that are on the ground every single day dealing with the government, dealing with society, and they're identifying opportunities and problems months, if not years, in advance of what Maine State or others are identifying. So the goal of reorganization is to shorten that time frame, because we can't afford to move slow. The world moves very, very quickly. This decision we made on Syria, had we run that through a traditional process, would have taken months and months and months of interagency this and people talking that and all the different boxes that have to be checked in some memo that gets to me. Our ability to move quickly on a discrete, on a unique opportunity in a time-effective manner, I think is going to bear dividends for the national security of our country if it works out. And we want to be able to see more of that. And that's really the goal of reorganization. People think this is a cost-cutting exercise. There may be savings. There need to be savings. We just had our credit rating downgraded. You talk about a foreign policy problem? That's the first thing our foreign interlocutors wanted to mention to me on Sunday in Rome, is that our credit rating was just downgraded. We have a debt problem, but that's obviously not a State Department issue, but that's our problem. But that's a problem. But this is not just about cost savings. This is about providing a more efficient, faster moving, more effective State Department and as a tool of diplomacy. The State Department should be at the center of American foreign policy making. And that's our goal, to create one, to reorganize one that can deliver on that.
I want to thank you and President Trump for your focus on Latin America. Can you tell me, what do you think the proper role of the Organization of American States is? What should they be doing?
Well, you would think that they would be able to be a forum to deal with challenges in the region. None more pressing right now than what's happening in Haiti. I mean, Haiti's basically been taken over by a coalition of gangs who just, they're not interested in governing the country.
I hate when they do this. I hate, and we talked about it earlier on the stream, y'all. When Trump talked about the immigrants that the last administration let in from Africa, right? But he just flew some African immigrants over this. They're from South Africa. And so they white European Africans. They still African. They went from one of the 50 plus countries on the continent of Africa. So it's this thing that I hate that Republicans do. When they talk about Haiti and Jamaica and Africa, they talk about Africa as if it's a country because they want you to think this. They want you to think about, this is what it looks like when I say Africa or Haiti or any of these other countries. Not even realizing realistically that probably outside the Congo and Nigeria and other places, there's a lot of different skin tones and cultures in Africa, on the continent, right? Look at the Egyptians. Because some people, for some odd reason, I don't know why do people like to put Egypt in the Middle East when it sits on the continent of Africa? Another conversation another day, right? Either way, I hate when they end up like trying to highlight what happens in these other predominantly 195% black countries. It didn't happen overnight. Don't act like America didn't have a hand in whatever's going on in Haiti or the Congolese or Congo, or the Republic of Congo and Zimbabwe, South Africa, wherever. Like, let's not act like America's innocent. And I hate the fact that when they say these countries, they say the names, and when they talk about the drugs coming over, they always want to blame it from Mexico, right? Venezuela, Colombia. Like, no, list them all then. Brazil. List them all. So you like it's the dog whistle for that undertone racism that I just hate. And some of y'all, it's not racism, it's really actually being run by gangs. Come on, bro. It's the tone in it, bro. Like we see through the nonsense. I almost cussed. I almost said BS, but I'm trying to get better.
Think if there's no government, we're
you here, Breon, that's why I ain't cuss.
From here, we can do all the drug running and organ smuggling and human smuggling, all the stuff we want. And that's what they're trying to do, and that's what they're doing. That's a very unique challenge. Our traditional peacekeeping missions are designed to keep ideological groups from fighting each other, or tribal groups from fighting each other, or in many cases, nation states from fighting each other. But that traditional approach is not going to solve this very unique challenge. It is a country basically taken over by 25 to 30,000 individuals who are members of criminal gangs who simply want to control territory so they can hijack trucks, steal and or charge exorbitant fees for fuel to move across the country, kidnap people and traffic in humans, traffic in drugs across the border into the Dominican Republic and through sea-bound lanes.
That's across the border. There's one nation.
And there's things that we
Hispaniola.
need to do. For example, we need to figure, and we've been working with the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, the ATF, and others, on how can we cut the flow of guns that are leaving the Miami River on containers and reaching not just Haiti, but Jamaica and Trinidad and other places. So there's more we can do on that front. But from the OAS's perspective, if
What he said about Jamaica?
Regional crisis, that you
Hold on.
individuals who are members of criminal gangs who simply want to control territory
Go
so
back.
they can hijack trucks,
Yeah.
steal and or charge exorbitant fees for fuel to move across the country, kidnap people and traffic in humans, traffic in drugs, but from the OAS's perspective, if ever there was a regional crisis that you would think an organization like this could step forward and provide a force or a group of countries that working together could help solve, it would be the OAS. And we're prepared to play a leading role in that. But we do need buy-in from other partners in the region who are as affected, if not more so, by what's happening there. So that's one example of what the OAS should help on. And obviously the other is on the defense of democracy, which is the OAS is a collection of democratic institutions. In places like Nicaragua, there is no. In Venezuela, in Cuba, there is no democracy.
Can you talk about how you're...
I must have missed out the Jamaican part. I ain't go back to it. That's all right.
In terms of reforms, well, two things we're doing on the promotion board. We're not getting rid of the promotion board. I read some the other day. We have simply suspended it for a month while we reevaluate how we promote people. We want to promote people on the basis of how good they are. I know this is a shocking view, but we want to promote people on the basis of how good they are. And frankly, on occasion, you will find that a more junior officer, meaning they've only been there 10 years instead of 20, is really good and deserves a promotion. And if you don't promote them, they're going to leave the Foreign Service. The same is true for how we recruit people. We want to widen the base of people. And in fact, one of the things we've thought about is, are there people in the middle of a career doing something else in the private sector that are interested in entering diplomacy? There was a program to do that.
Thanks
back
for tapping in, Tammy.
And it was very successful. Maybe these are people that will give us 15 or 20 years in that regard. So we are looking to expand our talent pool, but ultimately, we are also seeking to have a system internally where we are rewarding merit and performance, and not simply seniority or where you are in the pecking order based on how long you've been there. And that doesn't mean that if you've been there a long time, you're not good. But it means there are some people that haven't been there as long that are just as good or not better. And we want to make sure they're promoted, because if not, we're going to lose them. We're going to lose them to the private sector.
Thank you. You're doing a great job.
I'm going to end it there. for today's stream. I mean, I gotta eat, man. I'll be real with y'all. Full face. Hold on now. Hold on. I gotta get I'll be real. That ain't it. Hold on. That ain't it either. I'll be real with y'all. I'll be 10,000. I got my stream deck, but I don't know how to use it yet. So once I get this set up all the way, if y'all have a YouTube video, DM it to me on Instagram, drop it in the chat. I've seen how to set up the basics, but the stream deck piece is going to have these screens moving real quick on the vertical and the full screen. I'm just going to be playing the piano in that thing. Oh, damn, he's got his screen together. Yeah, Bill, we working on it. Either way, I appreciate y'all tapping in today. The chat has been popping, right? Tapped in, watching greatness, man. Thank you, Nari. Hey, that's my dog right there. Appreciate you. You called the end because you know what? I'll be real with you, and this is disservice to a lot of y'all, man. I don't have a set time that I stream. And because I don't have a set time, people are like, oh yeah, Phil could be live right now. You know, let's go hop in with my dog, see what he's talking about, right? And that's on me. And again, it's because I didn't expect the stream to grow where it's at now. But everyone who's here, I appreciate you tapping in today. This was good, but I have to do things. Breon, thanks for the text, the reminder, because it wasn't on my thing. I celebrate Juneteenth, which was, I guess, when I believe the slaves in Texas found out they were free. June 20th, 1865, I believe. Yeah, whatever the date may be. But in Florida, they found out May 20th. Today is May Day in the state of Florida, where the slaves, the enslaved in Florida, who really, realistically, prior to 1822, they were already free. So between 1822 and May 20th, 1865, every black person who used to leave Alabama, South Carolina, other places who went to Spanish Florida for freedom, they were free before 1822 or before Duval Pope took over. They made the territory of the state of Florida, and all these different things happened. And then 5 years later, we became incorporated, the founding of the state, because these are territorial days. They had to put the state, in order, how the roads were built, how slavery was going to be adjudicated and things of that nature, right? So regardless of it, today's May Day, where Floridians found out they were free again, but everybody will find out again next month, Juneteenth. Well, Outlaw, appreciate you tapping in. Outlaw's been preaching in the chat today. I haven't kept up with everything. I'm gonna have to go scroll back through. Michael Wilbur, what's the channel about? I'll be real with you, sharing my political thoughts, political commentary. This is my political page. I also have a gaming page, Lobbyist Gamer, where you can catch me playing FIFA, Call of Duty, a little bit of everything that guys do these days, right? But this channel is about politics, sharing my political insight, not to pick a side, not to be divisive, Republican, Democrat. It's to inform people about what's actually happening now. I've been fortunate enough to stream vertically live here on YouTube the past 2 or 3 weeks, and we have not only grown to over 1,500 followers. We started around 300 or 400 3 weeks ago, Michael. And now we just passed 1,500 today, thanks to the lovely people who've tapped into the stream. And hey, I appreciate y'all, right? But end of the day, this page is about political commentary, at least educating people about what's really happening from education. The people will tell you, oh, they're trying to dismantle schools, public school, private school, charter school. At least know what they're doing. I'm not saying the right or wrong what's happening. Just let's have a real conversation that's solution based. And that's based on the fact of, and it's not to brag, it's not to boast. I said it the third time on the stream today. There are not a lot of people who work internally in politics that can share how to actually be successful and prepare yourself there. There are 23 million people in the state of Florida. I'm a lobbyist, professional lobbyist for 15 years. There are only 2,000 lobbyists in the state of Florida. Of those, African Americans, people of color, black, Caribbean American, whatever it may be, there are only 60 of us. So that means out of 23 million people in this state, I'm probably 0.001 somewhere, at least understanding how to make government move. And not just make government move in North Dakota or Iowa, make government move in the third largest state in the country. So I'm sharing a perspective that could actually work in some areas of the state in your country to not only help you understand, but to be informed, right? Schools not teaching our children, though. The schools are not teaching our children. You're right. They're teaching to a test. So understanding that they're teaching to a test, maybe how do we take ownership of our kids' education? Case in point, if you move into a community and you know they're defunding public schools, you have an F school and things of that nature, and they have a charter school that's an A. If you love your children and want to invest in their children, that you go ahead and you put it there. Now, Michael, I'm gonna get to your question, because what do you lobby for? People want to get that. People ask it all the time because a lot of people don't know what lobbyists do. I would say this: I'm a sports agent for politicians, right? But I don't have any sports clients. I'm known as a hip hop lobbyist because I represent the hip hop culture. But to that, in the Florida legislative process, the culture to me is kids. making sure that our children have all the resources they need between wraparound services, whether it's mental health, if you're pregnant, HIV, AIDS patients, dealing with suicide, crime gang, like all those different things that end up issues I end up lobbying on. I know I'm rambling a bit, but I lobby for issues. Hey, from Morocco, what's going on, brother? From Africa, that's what I'm talking about. But I lobby for issues that are passionate to me. I never wanted to work in politics. I got fired from my day job my last semester at the Florida A&M University. I know you rattlers, the family is mad at me. I don't care. Y'all here anyway. Y'all, the family helped me get monetized. I love y'all. Either way, unpaid intern, started in the Capitol, never wanted to work in politics, never ran for office, whatever it may be. But I fell in love with the process when I put a constitutional amendment on the ballot. And I realized that every voter in the state of Florida would actually decide for the law I actually wrote to change the constitution of this state. They would actually decide. I'm like, that's some power that a lot of people don't realize. I sat down for 2 whole days writing this. It went through, it passed the legislature and the Supreme Court, and all the voters decided. So I fell in love with politics. I fell in love with the fact of the impact I can make in this process. And what I've done from that is not only help my alma mater keep its accreditation for the School of Pharmacy back in 2014. It don't matter. I still did it, right? Well, part of a team that did it, because Pippen get Jordan rings too, right? So regardless of it, being a part of something that it was impactful is what really drove me. So that's why I really love lobbying, because it's not the Republicans are racist, MAGA this, hate Trump. It's not, hey, Democrats, let's put men's and women's sports, right? Because these are 2 different ideas that don't get to people. I want to get out of the nonsense and get to the brass tacks, the real tacks of how we make real change. And I know lobbyists get negative headway, negative headlines, and everything we do is wrong. But guess what? I ain't got a Benz. I ain't got a Gucci slippers. I'm just a hustler. Natural born hustler who's too real for the process. And that's why a lot of people hate my realness. That's why they told me to stop cussing. That's why they told me to stop using the KNEE grow word on the live stream, because I've been freestyling this whole live stream for almost 3 hours. No script, unscripted, no suit and tie. And again, I've worn this hoodie. I dropped my son off at daycare. I knew Trump was speaking at 9. I got back here. I hopped on the live stream. I threw on the hoodie and I'm like, you know what? I've worn this hoodie for at least 5 live streams. So the goal is I'm not wearing this hoodie again until we get to 5,000 subs, right? Once we get to 5,000 subs, I'm gonna bring that bit back out, but we got a ways to go to get there. So that means I got to make a lot more content and tap y'all in, right? And you're right. It's because you're Jamaican. You're right. You know what time it is, Nara. You know how we do. We don't need a lot of clothes, man. It's the outside because the inside's clean. And guess what? I done took a bath, so it's all clean anyway. But regardless of it, it's the grind. It's the hustle. And even to Nari, your point, I'm a first generation American. My grandmother came here and sponsored citizenship for my grandfather, my mother. My grandfather came here and he was one of the construction workers on the World Trade Center. And they gave him an opportunity because he's fair-skinned enough to look like he was Puerto Rican. And they didn't understand the Jamaican accent back in the 60s as much as they do today. So, however, they thought his broken patois was Spanish and he ended up getting some contracts and working and became a self-made millionaire. Bought some property in Florida. My mom was here. We ended up coming here, and that's a whole other issue. But regardless, I realized that I'm fortunate enough to be in a position to lobby and move government and move things and be passionate about issues. So that's why my mother never taught me that I'm less than, I was a slave, none of that, right? So that's why I don't have a lot of the Black American trauma that's there. Now, mind you, I'll be real. My sperm donor is from Charleston, South Carolina. So there is some ingrained trauma from slavery in my bloodline. But guess what? I didn't grow up in a household where I learned that. Right? I'm American. But because of Jamaica's laws, technically, because my mother is Jamaican and she was born in Jamaica, I have Jamaican citizenship too. And guess what? A couple months ago, they done said patois is a language. So patois is a language. So I'm bilingual too. Right? Everything. But regardless, never want to work in politics. And I realized that May 22nd, 2014, 4:03 p.m. I went through my fast. We talked about it the other day on the stream. At the end of the day, I realized nobody else could beat me and have my life story. How can I use God's will for my life, right? That was really just walking God's will. And through that, I fell deeper in love with politics because I realized my impact. And I'll share this story. You can see a video on my Instagram page, Hip Hop Lobbyist, all social medias. There's a video on my Instagram page of me with some young men standing outside the Capitol, and then there's a gallery. We're in the gallery being recognized for our work and our achievements. I'm gonna tell you this: the day before we went to the Capitol, we were supposed to have a parent lobbyist. Hey, they on the Hill, prepare, right? It got lost in the weeds, but that's never an issue. But what I saw was a mother dropping her son off at one of the nonprofits after school programs and him preparing for the FSA. And I didn't talk to the mother, didn't talk to the kid. I just sat there and watched, right? Because sometimes even in the lobby, as a lobbyist and as a person, you just have to watch the situation, right? And he was struggling in reading. I heard the mother say, and he's there for that. And that's why she dropped him off. And it was like, you know what? D word. I was about to cuss. I didn't. I said, this parent believes in this system and she trusts him enough to realize that she has to work to provide, but she's putting her son in a situation where he's not going to be distracted at home or by people in these streets or all the other distractions that young black men and young people, regardless, can get into, right? And that motivated me to keep going, to keep fighting, to keep lobbying, even though people don't know what lobbying is, to keep lobbying for these issues, because I saw the impact that this parent believed that this system works, this program, this organization works for their child, and I'm lobbying for this organization that'll help black children reduce the school to prison pipeline through reading and advocacy and mentorship and all these different things. And I say, you know what, that's what I lobby for. I do it for that parent because I realize that they may not have the resources to put their child in that program, but I also realize that not a lot of motherfuckers care about them. So at least if I could do what I can to give back to that little bit, $250,000, $750,000 here, $1 million here, that's enough. So that's what I lobby for. I got a little emotional there because it's about the parents. But either way, I appreciate y'all tapping in. Money has no value until it's used. That's real. But sometimes you got to support the things that are actually good for the community. Either way, I appreciate y'all tapping in for the stream today. We've been live on TikTok, YouTube. Y'all got your boy a little emotional talking about that mama who invested in her kids. Now, why just black children? These are a lot of poor children. You're right, Michael, but guess what? They're not just black kids in this program. Michael, just to clarify, there's a great culture. However, there are a lot of great programs out there that touch a lot of different kids, right? And it could be Boys and Girls Club. It can be Pay Center for Girls. It can be a lot of Big Brothers, Big Sisters. Great program for kids, right? They have the resources in order to have the political connections, right? I'm working with small nonprofits that are scaling and growing, that may have 1,000 kids that they're specifically working with, that just need not even equal footing. They just need an opportunity to see, you know, hey, can we not get money from the state? Can we partner with the state to work on this? Because the lobbyist mindset is the state has an issue where they want to reduce juvenile crime amongst young black men in Florida, right? And they're supporting programs for that. So if the state is aligning with that, and I have a nonprofit that wants a seat at the table, that's what I'm aligning for. So case in point, realistically, Michael, I have a group, I have a client I represent dealing with Holocaust survivors, right? Now, Holocaust survivors, and I'm not getting into anything controversial there, right? So don't get it twisted. But South Florida has probably the largest contingent outside of New York and California of Holocaust survivors. You have a program where these Holocaust survivors get wraparound services. But even then, you have the Jewish JFS and other Jewish programs that make the major headlines that get the millions of donations and grant money. But then you have a smaller nonprofit dealing with the community that's actually in need because they're dealing with anti-Semitism or Alzheimer's or all these different things. And we have at least created a program that can wrap around and help these people. That's what I'm talking about. So it's not just black children. It ends up being, that's a passion there, right? Because it was the child and the mother, and I caught myself, and I didn't wipe my tears, but I caught it, right? Either way, it's about the impact. So it's not just black kids. I'm fortunate enough to deal with a lot of urban kids because realistically, not a lot of this community knows and understands the process. That's for real, right? So the other part of it is organizations that just want to make an impact. Case in point, the client who called me early on the stream, he's not black. He's an Israeli real estate developer, and he's running into a legal issue that he needs a lobbyist, and I'm his guy, right? So it's not a fact of just representing black folks or just representing black children. It's a fact of people who are in need of something and they're doing great work. How can we make sure that the AT&Ts, the Miami-Dade counties, the Baptist Hospital, University of Florida. How can I fight with and against them to make sure that somebody gets what they need out of this process, right? And that to me is the bigger impact, because honestly, when I was getting funding for suicide prevention, that just wasn't for black kids. Duval County, Jacksonville, has the highest suicide rate of any county in the state of Florida, and the third largest state in the country, right? That is a problem. So how can we at least have funding for not only helping prevent these people from committing suicide, but having the services for the parents who have to deal with this and the trauma of how they feel like, you know what, I was a bad parent. Where did I go wrong? The brothers or sisters, the family, and how I could have been there. And honestly, I had a friend of mine who committed suicide, I believe. And not to say I believe, I know that, but I haven't gone to the details, right? So prayerfully, I'll get it eventually, but that's what it is. Yeah, I mean, poor kids in general, Michael. I got you. 10-4, we good. So I forgot where I was. Damn it. It's okay. Mike, I appreciate you. Anyway, taking loans away from poor children to go to school doesn't help. I mean, it's there. I mean, Tammy, I understand what you're saying. I do think that education sometimes gets divisive, right? To where people want the best quality education for their child, but they realize your schools and your neighborhood determine how good the quality of your child's education is going to be. So with that, and that's Republican strategy. Like, hey, Democrats, they want to force you to send your black kid to this poor school, send them to a charter school. And the parents thought, like, you know what, you're right. If my child does decide to go to college, he can go to Miami, Florida State, FAMU, FIU. He gets options. So I should have options as a parent on where I want him to go to elementary school and middle school and high school, and to a point where they're saying, and I've said it before, give parents the options. The parents decide what to do with this public taxpayer money, and they decide what's best for their child. And I think that the better part of it is not just spending the block on dismantling and just they're trying to defund public schools. Well, Obama said charter schools are public schools too. So what are we really saying, right? Let's be a part of this conversation. And I know that respectfully, there are a lot of people who are outside of politics who, again, call everything Republican racist, everything Republican MAGA, everything Republican this, whatever, right? Cool. But when the policy benefits them, they'll never tell you the benefit that Republican policy had for them personally or as a business. That's what I want to stop. I want to at least get to a point where, and people can tag this, my family that's here. I feel that if Will Packer would have taken the same route that the board member Mike White would have done, which is, it doesn't make common sense, it makes political sense, right? Mike White, Indelible Solutions, look into how much they've given to the DeSantis campaign and his efforts. They believe in him, right? And look where they are. I'm not saying that you just give money to every Republican. I'm not saying you give money to every Democrat. What I'm saying is you have to be politically involved. It doesn't make common sense. It has to make political sense. You can support, in that case, Andrew Gilliman. Let's go raise him $250,000. But guess what? For your ops, just in case he wins, we don't care what he's polling. Let's drop $100,000 to him. And if he wins, okay, cool, we got to pony up, we got to maybe do some more, but we need that relationship so that maybe we can build a film school on campus. Maybe we could get the call to say, hey, who would you like to be president of the university? And kind of avoid this, right? And kind of have a seat at the table. But a lot of people don't want a seat at the table. They want to yell outside while the people in the boardroom can't hear them and make a decision on how they live. I want to be in the boardroom carrying the message from the streets to the table. Because I remember when the lobbyists were sitting in the room for a certain member, like, you know what, we're going to support the Republican here. And I had to tell them, like, no, she's done so much for the Haitian community in South Florida. If you give to the opponent, you're just messing you and your business up. And at least having that corporate conversation, that street conversation in the corporate level boardroom where they're politically discussing stuff, say, hey, how can we at least be impactful for our people, right? And that's what I do. But either way, I appreciate y'all tapping into the stream. It's 1 o'clock. I did tell y'all I have a 2 o'clock. My client that called me today. We still streamed anyway, and we still dealt with this issue for that. But I have a 2:30. My wife has a hair appointment tonight. So I'll say this. On my gaming channel, Lobbyist Gamer, will be live on Lobbyist Gamer tonight at 8:30 for our FIFA 5-on-5 tournament. We have open party chat, so if you like gaming, please make sure you go hop in on my Lobbyist Gamer channel. And then tonight, I'll be back with my homies, Ladre Gilbert and Feezy the Great, Mr. FAMU 40, Forbes Feezy himself, going over the Diddy trial along with some of this other stuff. And what I'm going to also try to do between that is go through some of this tax plan that Trump is pushing. and the House Republicans are doing, and pull something that people may actually be interested in, from opportunity zones, affordable housing, Medicare. My grandfather's 96 years old. I'm worried about what they're going to do to these other cuts. So let's at least tap in. But anyway, yeah, Mike, you're right. Chestnut checkers. I tell people like this, and I'm going to try to end. I'm long-winded. I have a TED Talk. If you haven't seen it, you can. I have it in the, on the channel somewhere, right? Or you can just Google Philip Singleton TED Talk, right? It'll come up. If you want to be good at politics, you got to know how to play spades, chess, Madden, or NBA 2K. That's what I've learned from my entire 15 years in this process, and I've done more than a lot of people have. So I know that our community is there, right? We're good at Madden, NCAA college football. We're good at spades or even dominoes, but I don't play dominoes that well, so I can't relate dominoes to this, even though I'm half Jamaican, right? It is what it is. Even though when you're Jamaican, it don't make half. You all Jamaican, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. Some of us know how to play chess. Stop playing checkers, because the moves we have to make in chess is the same. And I'll say it like this, with Madden, it's like this. If you know somebody's running halfback dive all game, halfback dive, halfback dive, halfback dive, you adjust your defense to stop the halfback dive, right? But sometimes you need to run a play action. Sometimes you need to run a post. Sometimes you need to run action. Sometimes even on defense, you don't even need to blitz. You need to show blitz and not blitz. And that's basically the same thing you do in politics. Sometimes they need to think that we're only going to run a halfback dive. Protest racism. Protest MAGA racism. When are we going to call the play action? Call the play action and say, hey, you thought we were coming up here to protest about the presidential selection. We don't care. She's going to be okay, because all the issues every presidential selection has made has been about student achievement, have been about graduation rates, have been about this. And we want $60 million to help achieve this. So she can walk in, regardless of if we like her or not, with at least the funding and resources she needs to be successful. That's why when you have Obama pass the presidency to Trump, he says, essentially, I need Trump to be successful, because if he's not successful, America fails. And to my family folks who are mad about the president selection, we don't need Marva Johnson to fail, because if she fails, the university fails. But what y'all don't realize is Republicans don't like losing. That's why they keep winning in Florida. Either way, again, thank you, everybody. Tap to the stream. Michael, Father Time, Kayer, everyone, man. I could keep talking just off the fact of the chat. All love and respect for y'all for tapping in. Mike, Father Time, please make sure you like and subscribe. We've hit over 1,500 subscribers today. I never expected this kind of growth. Appreciate y'all. I'm out, man.